everybody. Today we're debating flat Earth, and we are starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate, as this is going to be a blast, folks. I'm excited. Whew. A lot of stuff to talk about. Very fun, folks. Want to let you know, though, if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we've got a lot more debates coming up. So, for example, you will see at the bottom right of your screen, Flat Earth debate will be number 2 for next week, because we actually have 2 next week, but this is going to be a huge one we're especially excited about. This is going to be Team Skeptic against Flat Earth Aussie. So that's going to be a big one next Saturday. And want to let you know, though, we've got a lot of other debates coming up that will be showing at the bottom right of your screen as this debate goes. And also want to let you know, though, I have put both of the links of our speakers, our guests today, in the description box. So that way, if you're like, I have an inkling that I would enjoy more, well, you can enjoy more by going to their links in the description. And want to let you know, though, if you have any questions during today's debate, feel free to fire your questions into the old live chat. And if you tag me with an @ModernDayDebate, that'll make it easier for me to see each one. And then Super Chat is, of course, an option, in which case you can not only make a question, but could also give a comment during the question and answer, to which each speaker would have a chance to respond to. Or I should say, the speaker to which it's directed would have a chance to respond to it, as well as a Super Chat will push your question or comment to the top of the list for the Q&A. Also, last thing, folks, going to let you know that the format is pretty flexible today, so it's basically like this. We're going to have flexible, roughly 10-minute opening statements from each side. Wotan is going to go first, and then we're going to have open discussion for about 60 minutes, followed by Q&A for about 30 minutes. Want to let you know, if you haven't yet seen the little border here, Wotan is on the left. He has the photo of a horizon. He asked me to put that for his picture. He painted that. Very beautiful, Wotan. I want to say we appreciate both of these guys being here. Thank you so much, Wotan and PlanarWalk, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me as well. Always glad to come on.
My pleasure. And with that, we're going to jump right into it. So, with that, gentlemen, I will set the timer for 10 minutes. And Wotan, the floor is all yours.
How you doing, everybody? During this time of world history, mass pandemic, mass hysteria, just... the world is a crazy place right now, but I'm going to debate this flat Earth topic, I guess, probably one last time, and we'll see what happens after that. So my opening statements usually sound the same every time, because my arguments have yet to be refuted. So I'm just going to keep saying them like a broken record. So obviously the 3 propositions that I have is an experiment proving that water can adhere to the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone, as I've never seen a single experiment once proving it. Then we have the air in a vacuum. How does the air adhere to the exterior of a shape in a vacuum? I've yet to see a single experiment proving that. And then we have the space-time, the bending of time. I would love to know how time is bent. Do you use a wrench, or do you use some kind of a vise? Or I would love to know how you bend time. Can you shatter dreams? Can you maybe tear apart love? I mean, how does this happen? There's no method as to how this can possibly ever happen. You cannot bend space. You cannot bend time. If you can't bend concepts, you don't have space-time. If you don't have space-time, you don't have gravity. If you don't have gravity, you don't have a round Earth. I'm sorry, you don't. So we'll go back to my first proposition, which is the water adhering to the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone. All of the evidence that I've gotten for this in my, 3-4 years of debating this topic was, what's his name? Team Skeptic, giving me the demonstration, not a scientific experiment, obviously not a scientific experiment, because the Globers have absolutely zero scientific experiments to prove a single shred of anything that they believe whatsoever. Nothing. They have absolutely nothing. They have no evidence. So I require a scientific experiment to prove this phenomenon. And what do I get? I get from Team Skeptic, one of the YouTube flat Earth debunking channels. He shows me a demonstration of astronauts in the ISS. Now let's just play ball here. We'll just play ball and just act like the ISS is real and there's actually real astronauts inside the ISS. So I'll just play ball with that, even though obviously I don't believe that. But we'll just go along with the fairy tale. Even if that were real, that there are astronauts inside of an ISS flying around the Earth at 30,000 miles an hour, whatever the hell it is, the water inside of the ISS is not forming a sphere because of gravity. It has absolutely, positively nothing whatsoever to do with gravity at all. Nothing. It has to do with the volume, the minimum volume of a shape is a sphere. That's just how it works. That's just how it is. So that's what happens in space, even if space were real. So the fact that the water, which has adhesive properties, is it all adhering to each other, and surface tension at play is forming a sphere because that is the minimum volume that a shape takes. Period. It has nothing to do with whatsoever gravity. This is the evidence that I'm presented to show that water forms a sphere with gravity, and then you see in the demonstration, he puts like a little object inside of the sphere of water and says, "Oh, look, water adhering to the exterior of a shape by retrogravity." But there's no gravity. There's no gravity up there. It's ridiculous. There's no gravity up there. Number one. And number two, it's sticking to the object because water adheres. That's what happens. It's cohesive. It's just absolutely ridiculous. You just get no real scientific experiments for anything whatsoever of the globe Earth. These are the 3 experiments that I request. And if I do not receive a single scientific experiment to prove any 3 of my propositions to be true, I'm going to continue to be the flat Earth for the rest of my life. And that's it. Because these are 3 of the most quintessential claims of, like, these are just the 3 most quintessential claims of the globe Earth. If you have a globe Earth, you have to have water around the globe Earth, flying around in space, hundreds of millions of thousands of miles an hour, flying through the freaking universe, and not a single drop of water flies off. But we have no experiments to prove any of this. So I just don't believe you. I just think you're full of shit. I just think every globe Earth is full of crap. I just think they're just religious. They have religious beliefs. That's perfectly fine. But don't tell me that your religious beliefs are true without any kind of scientific collaboration to prove what you believe. Obviously, then we have the atmosphere in a vacuum. And what did what's his name? Team Fraud show me? He shows me obviously gas in a tank, in a container, because you can't do it any other way. It's ridiculous. So it shows me gas in a tank, and the gas in the tank is more dense than the gas outside, and then they put the tin foil on it. Well, it's in a tank, it's in a container. So obviously, if you remove the container, what happens to the gas inside that container? It just wants to expand immediately, because otherwise it's held in a container. It has nowhere to go. So again, even with that video that he showed me, that's not a scientific experiment either, which is ridiculous. And then obviously I want a scientific experiment for, and then also what was it? The other guy, Fight the Flat Earth, also shows me the what was it? Atomic nuclear reactor or something like that, with the electromagnetic forces pulling plasma towards the core of the atomic nuclear reactor, whatever the hell it was. Well, number one, the gas that's surrounding the Earth is not plasma. Plasma has an attraction towards electromagnetism, right? That's how you get that effect, is with electromagnetism, right? So it's like, there's really no, I can't even make an analogy to it. Because electromagnetism is 10 to the 36 times more powerful than gravity. So there's really people don't even understand the volume of these numbers, the size of these numbers. To put it into perspective, there are 10 to the 20 observable stars in the entire universe, in the whole universe that we can see with the most powerful telescopes. There is 10 to the 20 stars in the universe. The difference in force, the difference in strength, between gravity and electromagnetism is 10 to the 36 times. It's 100 sextillion times stronger still, even if gravity was 10 to the 20th. Even if gravity was 10 to the 20th, electromagnetism would still be 100 sextillion times stronger. It's ridiculous how you can use electromagnetism to prove that anything can do with gravity. It's just, they are completely different forces with completely different attractive properties. They attract different things in the universe with different ratios and different, it's just, I can't make a worse exaggerated analogy. There's nothing that I can work with. All I could probably imagine is probably making an analogy to an infant trying to lift up the Mount Everest. it's just ridiculous. There is no experiments whatsoever for the globe Earth. And then obviously you have space time, which is just ridiculous. There's just not a shred of evidence for space time whatsoever. You have the problem with the the dark people inventing dark matter to accommodate for the failure of gravity, because gravity is a failure. Gravity doesn't explain everything in the universe. Gravity doesn't explain the stars at the edge of the galaxy moving, what was it, I think 10 times faster than what the mathematics, what the globe earthers love, right? The globe earthers love math because their whole world is just based around math. That's all they care about. They don't care about experiments. They don't care about physical, demonstrable, empirical evidence. All they care about is a piece of paper for mathematical equations, which have no relation to reality, quoted by Nikola Tesla. So when they do that with that math, what happens? Well, now that math that you worship, it doesn't work when you talk about the stars at the edge of the galaxy, right? So now what do they do? Instead of saying, oh, well, hey, maybe gravity is wrong, guys. Maybe we got it all wrong. Maybe we started out the book and come up with a new theory as to why, these things are happening in the earth. What they do is they can't do that because that's too much of a paradigm shift. So what they do is they just invent dark matter. Hey, guys, let's just say that there's just this is invisible matter out there. And we'll just say that that's what's causing all of these stars that are moving, 10 times faster than what the mathematics shows that they should be moving at, which is just the most scientifically illiterate statement that you could possibly ever make. It's dark matter is at 100%. It is an invention. Okay, there is no evidence whatsoever proving it. It's, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I just look at the globe Earth and it's just really absurd to me that there's just no scientific experiment whatsoever to prove any of my three propositions. And that's why, I was an atheist globe Earth, atheist experience watching, Drone, Dawkins, all of that garbage my whole life. And, and then when I found the evidence, for the globe Earth lacking, that there is no scientific evidence to prove water and air and, adhering to the shape, and space-time can't be bent because space and time are two concepts. You can't bend concepts, right? So what's the evidence? There's just no evidence. And unless these three claims can be proven, then I'm just going to refuse to believe anything that PlanarWalk is going to say. And I think I'm done.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for that, Wotan. And just a quick update, couple of updates. I have put the speakers' links in the description, so they are definitely there now, waiting for you in case you're like, I like that. I want more. And I want to let you know, you'll see at the bottom right of your screen, we just booked it today. We are excited that we will have Hunter Avallone and Joel Patrick on 1 week from today. They'll be discussing the Bible and homosexuality, as well as, if time permits, the transgender issue. So that should be a wild one, folks. And with that, I have the timer set PlanarWalk. Thanks so much. The floor is all yours, and a pleasure to have you. Oh, I think you got yourself on mute yet. Let me check over on...
Oh, yeah. I did have myself on mute. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So, yeah, it's a pleasure to be on. And I did like that small tacit, maybe Wotan didn't catch it, but, having to invent dark matter because apparently the maths is off, but it's only off for the globe model with stars at the edge of the galaxy. That would... For them to have to invent dark matter would mean that the galaxy has to have an edge. So that's a small tacit admission that the globe model or the heliocentric model is correct, but we'll ignore that for now. Anyway, so yeah, you brought up a few things like water sticking to a ball and all that. And I don't know if you want particular experiments or if an array of experiments can do, because yeah, like these it can easily be shown that water can stick to a ball if you use an array of experiments rather than just one singular experiment. But I think that the main things, or the main reasons why I think the Earth is a globe, is due to observations like you can take Tampa Bay observations, and that will show that there is obstruction of buildings in the distance. There's been multiple observations, like even Ranty took a few observations of a boat sinking over the horizon, and no amount of zoom is going to bring that boat back. There's also things like the stars. I cannot, if I were to go outside at night I would not be able to see Polaris. Just general stuff like that shows that the Earth is a globe, and you can get into really niche things. Thanks, Bob. And there's Foucault's pendulum. There's heaps of things that prove that the Earth is, or I won't say prove, but that give evidence that the Earth is a globe spinning at 15 degrees per hour. And so, yeah, I don't want to gish gallop too much, but so yeah, I'll end it there.
Thanks so much, PlanarWalk. We will now be jumping into the open discussion. Want to let you know our service is a little bit rough ever since COVID. My guess is a lot of people are on the web now. I don't know if that makes a difference, but that's the rumor. So maybe that's why right now our connection's ebbing and flowing. So with that, though, we will go right into the open discussion. It should be strong enough to where everything should be audible. So thanks for your patience. And the floor is all yours, gentlemen.
So I just want to address something that you said about the helium model being correct, because you're proving the edge of the galaxy. You want to elaborate on that? Exactly what you mean by that?
Well, if you want to bring up that stars at the edge of the galaxy don't work, then you're kind of somewhat admitting that there's an edge of emission, that there is a galaxy, which...
Well, I don't believe that there's no galaxies.
Okay, I'd love to...
The Earth could, listen, the Earth could be a trapezoid, and there could be galaxies. What is the existence of a galaxy have anything to do with the shape of the Earth?
I mean, that's a very amazing. That is a very amazing thing that I've never heard from any flat earther. Usually, they say space is fake, so therefore, a whole lot of things that you say wouldn't work with that.
Well, I think you're misrepresenting what we say. We say space is fake. Well, we made that. We're saying that like in a kind of a, how do you say, provocative type of way. So what we mean is that, space isn't this vacuum void, and, there's these other, physical planets out there that you can land on. A lot of people, I'm pretty sure some flat earthers, they could believe that they are physical. What they say is that, we don't know. And I think that's more of an honest position. And I like to quote Richard Feynman, who says, I'd rather say I don't know than rather say that you do know and you could be wrong. So I think the more honest position for me is to say that I simply don't know whether, other planets out there or whatever else is out there is real. I'd rather just say, I don't know. I think that's more of an honest position. And, when we say space is fake, we don't mean that like, planets are fake and the stars are fake and the moon is fake and the sun is fake. We don't that's not our position at all.
Okay, well, let's get to your three propositions, because I do want to address those. So your first one was water sticking to a ball,
right?
Okay, so what experiment would you propose to test if water can stick to a ball by virtue of gravity alone?
Put a round object somewhere. I don't know where. This is your experiment. This is your claim. So this is really all on you. But what I would like to see is some object of some shape. Well, obviously round. Because that's the hypothesis that the Earth is round. So a round object with water on the outside of the object, and the water on the outside of the object has some depth to it. Not that it's just the minimal depth of water that surface tension would allow before it drips to the bottom of the sphere and just drips off the bottom. But I'm talking about like water with some depth to it. Maybe even accurately like take the into account the size of the Earth without water, and scale that down, and then take the thickness of the deepest parts around that sphere, so that you have a scale 1-to-1 ratio of the depth of the water, the size of the object that you're using in the experiment, and make that water somehow hover, adhere around that object by virtue of gravity and no other force.
Okay, so how would you eliminate the Earth's gravity in that experiment?
eliminate the Earth's gravity. Go to I don't know, go outside of the. I think there's a range. What is it? There's a name for it when you go outside the range of all of the objects in space's gravity. Forgot the name for it. Is it the Lagrange area? I forgot what the fuck it's called. But yeah, that's what it requires. But you see that that's the problem that I have, is that like you really can't do this experiment because it's impossible. And I've actually got into a discussion. This was years ago, about 2-3 years ago, with Red's Rhetoric, and he told me that this is probably the most fallacious thing I've ever heard from a globe earther. This is exactly what I'm not even paraphrasing. I'm literally like, this is almost word for word of what he said. I am slightly paraphrasing, but the gist of what he said was, and I was asking him for an experiment to prove that water can adhere to the exterior shape by virtue of gravity alone. And what he says is, oh, well, Wotan, we can't do that because we would need a planet the size of the Earth to replicate that. Oh, well, then you're just completely full of shit, because now you're begging the question, aren't you?
Well, if you didn't have a planet this, I wouldn't say it needs to be exactly the size of the Earth. I think that it would be, being able to do it on.
Sorry, you broke up there.
It on the moon or something like that. Okay, I was just saying, I don't think you need planets that exactly the size of the Earth. It could be a bit smaller. It's just you'd have less force pulling it to the object. Like, you could probably do it on the moon. I'd have to double check that though.
That.
So, what?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, NASA is, or at least they say that they're sending people to the moon.
Yeah, so I would like to slightly just touch on your. I would like to touch on your thoughts of the moon landings real quick. So I watched your previous debate with Flat Earth Ozzy Jesus, and it was like 20 minutes in, you said that you don't believe that the moon landings are fake because you don't believe that people can fake it.
Yeah, I don't think that they had the technology back then to be able to fake moon. Well, would you be? Would you?
Excuse me, you keep breaking up. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Would you be able to fake the moon landings?
No, he's right now. Just sometimes he breaks up a little bit because
it's not. It's actually on our side as well. We've got some buffering reports. So I am going to see what I can do over here. Desperate times call for desperate measures, folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off PlanarWalk's incoming video and see if that helps. So,
okay. I'll also turn off my outgoing. Oh, there we go.
That might make a small difference. So Solid says the stream is falling apart. Well, thank you, Solid. Always happy to have you here. And don't worry, we're going to do what we can, folks. We when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So we'll do what we can. And right now during COVID, it's I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it has been a rough one lately in terms of our connection. Even though we've asked our provider we've actually paid them for stronger service. But yes, I agree, Ranger Man. The stream is getting unwatchable, but hopefully it will at least be listenable as we have this kind of I
think the video off would solve it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
So yeah, just to touch up. So I was saying that PlanarWalk's argument for not believing in the moon landing, that the moon landing is fake, is because he doesn't believe that they can be faked, and that is a patent definition, 100% definite. That is the literal definition of the appeal to incredulity, which is a complete logical fallacy.
Would you be able? He would be. Here's my challenge to anybody that believes that the moon landings are fake. Using the technology that NASA would have had available at the time, can make them look realistic enough to what NASA has. You can, then the moon landings might have been
there's
fake.
There's really no right, and some cameras. That's all you have to do. There's really nothing to. There's no like you're trying to say that like the funny is you're saying you need all of this kind of advanced technology to fake something in a movie studio. take too advanced technology. They had color cameras back then. They had, wires, and they had Hollywood studios, obviously, back then. It really doesn't take that much technology to fake it. To go there with these rocket boosters and these advanced technological equipment, and you got to deal with the radiation and the vacuum space, and you got a sun on at that exact moment in space, because the mathematical equations for the gravitational forces of the Earth and the Moon are going to be different when they're in different positions, and you got to be able to, there's so much that you need to take into account. There's so much more technology and mathematics and planning and money, and there's just so much, there's so much more involved with you actually going to the moon rather than faking it. Faking it is easy. Faking it is the easiest.
So it's funny how you.
No, I didn't appeal to your incredulity. No, I'm just pointing out your fallacy. You're saying that you don't believe that the moon landings can be faked, because you're saying, you prove to me that you could fake it with the technology they had back then. Okay, you just get some 1960s cameras in the studio. That's all you need. There's really nothing left.
Then why hasn't anyone done it?
You can do it. People, you can do it right now. What are you talking about?
Then do it. Someone should do it.
There's movies about it. There's movies about it. What are you talking about, buddy? Are you serious? You're sitting here telling me right now that you can't fake a moon landing with a 1960s camera and some wires. That's all you need. That's literally all you need. There's nothing else that you need. There's nothing whatsoever else that you need. Nothing. Did you see the lunar module? How fake that thing is? It's put together with construction paper. That thing is supposed to withstand all of the radiation and the differences in temperatures, the 400, 500 degree temperature differential between nighttime and daytime. That flimsy piece of garbage is supposed to withstand. There's holes in it. You can see through it. Are you joking me? Listen, I'm a welder. Listen to me. Listen, I'm a welder, buddy. You're not gonna sit here and tell me. You are absolutely not gonna sit here and tell me that piece of garbage that went to the moon is gonna withstand any of the forces whatsoever that require you to go to the moon. It's ridiculous.
You're appealing to incredulity right now by saying I don't think that. I'm
talking from experience as a welder.
No, you're saying I can't see how that can withstand all that stuff. So therefore, it can't have withstand.
I'm talking from experience. Number one, okay. Number one, I'm talking from.
So you've experienced welding.
How about this? Find me a single weld on that thing. You won't even find it. It's not even welded together. It's put together by screws and bolts. It's ridiculous. It's a joke.
I mean, I don't know all the blueprints, and I'm not a welder, so maybe you're right on that. But I mean, that's out of my. That's out of my.
But listen, what I'm saying is the original claim was with you. You literally appealed to incredulity by saying that you don't believe that the moon landings could be faked because you don't believe that it could be faked. That's literally a patent appeal to incredulity. That's a patent.
So. How about I give you some? How about I give you some reason why I don't think that they can be faked? So the reason why I don't think that they can be faked is because you have shadows from the people on the moon, and they are parallel to each other.
Are you sure about that?
And they wouldn't.
I mean, have you done any research whatsoever into this topic at all?
Yes, that's why I know that the shadows are parallel to each other.
But they're not, though. That's like one of the claims against the moon landings, that they intersect. Do you not know that?
Show me them then.
I gotta show you, but you don't know that? How do you not know that? That's
like one of the
That's like one of listen. Hold on a second. That's literally one of the oldest claims of the moon skeptics positions. That's like day one shit. How do you not know that?
So I have seen that, and generally it seems to be because of this thing called perspective. Whereas if you look at the shadow side on, they all seem to be parallel.
But they're not, though. You could take two lines and put them in Photoshop, and it's been done, man. This is a joke. And you know what? Honestly, we're kind of, with the moon landing, I just wanted, like I said before, I wanted to touch on it later because I just wanted to expose your patent logical fallacy in your debate with Flat Earth Aussie Jesus where I literally had to pause the video and stop watching it because I just thought it was ridiculous, the things that you were saying. But where, this topic is really about flat Earth and the shape of the Earth. I mean, the moon landings, also has to do with that because obviously if, the moon landings is fake, then that means also that the blue marble image is completely fake, which, is supposed to prove that the Earth is round. But, I just wanted to touch on that briefly. I don't want to make too much time on this topic. So that's all I just wanted to say. But you also appealed to incredulity about the Himawari satellite, and you said that you don't believe that the Himawari can be faked because you don't believe that they can be faked because you don't believe that that there's no computer or something on Earth that can take data from thousands of weather stations around the world to create a map of the weather around the world. So that's another incredulity. That's two of them that you made within the first 20 minutes.
I mean, do you know how much effort that would take to be able to compile all that weather data to be able to?
Not a lot at all. It's not a lot at all. What's the data is in text form. What is it? It's just numbers. It's nothing. It takes up almost no space whatsoever. Are you joking me right now? Is this real? Or you're actually serious?
It would take a hell of a lot of data to be able to, because
it's literally just zeros and ones. That's all it is.
Yeah, but it matches, like, there's all these things to do with computing power. So it matches what we see.
So NASA doesn't have the computing power. NASA doesn't have the computing power to be able to get weather data from around the world. They don't have that. But they make $60 million a day. They don't have the computing power to do that.
Firstly, you need weather stations all over the globe to be able to... Well,
which is what we have. That's exactly what we have.
Okay, so we have weather stations all over the globe.
Right.
Good.
Okay.
So we'd need weather
this
stations.
Is a joke. I mean, is this real? I mean, I don't know. Is this real? This is just like a joke. This is like...
we'd need weather stations we'd have to work out, okay, how far apart do all these weather stations need to be? And then we can work out, okay, is there a weather station near this particular area? And we could check and be like we could actually possibly check and be like, okay, there's no weather station near this area. Check the skies. Is it matching the Himawari satellite? If it is, then there's a...
Listen, all you need to do to fake the Himawari is have a supercomputer analyzer, which I'm sure. I mean, do you know the computers that the NSA has? They have literally the world's most powerful computer on Earth. You know that, right? So the U.S. government definitely has the computing power to be able to process this information. And for you to say otherwise is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And if you're gonna say that, there's no point to even debate you because there's no point to debate you. Because you're literally saying that you don't believe that the USA, the world's most powerful economy on Earth, well, one of the world's, maybe not now anymore because of all this hysteria going on, but just for argument's sake, one of the world's leading forces in the world doesn't have the computing power to be able to process, maybe a few thousand weather stations around the world.
Okay.
Meanwhile, 30 seconds. Meanwhile, they have the computing power at NSA to be able to take every single text message, every single photo ever taken, every single search inquiry into Google, into Bing, into every single thing that is done online. The NSA has the power to process that information, but NASA doesn't have the power to process a couple thousand weather stations around the world.
So you'd need. The problem is not so much with compiling the data. The problem, although some people would argue that there would be a problem with compiling the data, depending on how fast you want to argue these processes are. But the problem
sure they're
is
pretty fast.
Yeah, well, as I said, my problem isn't with.
It's amazing. You just can't stop appealing to incredulity. It's amazing.
No, I didn't appeal to incredulity. I was saying
you're appealing to the incredulity of the power of the processing power of these computers.
No, I said that some people might argue that. I'm not saying that that's my argument.
That's what you said with Flat Earth OZGs. That's why I'm bringing it up. You said that you don't believe that there are computers that can process the information that is being gathered from the weather stations around the world. That is literally what you want me to timestamp around it? You want to play it on stream?
Okay. But one of the things that
I will play it on stream right now. You want me to play it on stream?
Hold on, Wotan. Let's.
That's not part of the argument right now. I want to talk about the argument about gathering the data in the first place. You'd need weather stations. Let's say every 20 kilometers, and you'd need weather stations every 20 kilometers, and need to be arranged in some kind of grid or something like that. You're talking about something that cost millions, possibly.
Oh wow,
well,
millions
not-
of dollars. That
way
the
past-
the US
No.
doesn't have millions of dollars, yet they can make.
No, I
Yet
was
they
gonna
can give out $1,200 to every citizen in the United States, but they don't have a couple $1,000,000 to make a computer.
You need
that can process
millions
thousand.
for like
Millions
just a
and
couple
millions.
of
You sound like Carl
just for a
Sagan.
couple
You
of
sound like Carl Sagan.
just a couple of weather stations would. Let
Billions and
alone
billions.
weather stations every 20 kilometers.
Billions and
and
trillions.
this is well, you'd probably by the time you're ending, you're probably reaching up into the high billions, possibly trillions.
Billions and billions. You sound like Carl Sagan. It's just amazing. Like this is all I'm hearing right now. It's just appealing incredulity. That's literally what you're doing. You're saying that you don't believe it because it takes billions and billions.
Well, do you know how they're managing
you're
to?
just appealing to incredulity, aren't you?
Well, how
I'm
would
sorry.
they be constructed? These things.
I mean, listen, the conversation.
You
sound
need to
really
actually
bad
like.
right
Do you
now.
have any
You just sound
positive?
Wotan, we do have to. Wotan,
No,
I do want to give a chance.
Do you have any positive
PlanarWalk to
evidence that they
respond.
are CGI? Wotan, do you have any positive evidence that they're CGI?
That's what's CGI.
That the Himawari images are CGI? Because I hear a lot of, they could be CGI, but I never hear anyone actually go ahead and go, okay, this is the reason why it's CGI. This, and this.
You do understand that that the Himawari is being projected with its actual computer representation. It's not the actual Earth. You understand that?
What do you mean?
It's not real. What you're seeing is not real. It's amazing.
Citation needed.
Citation needed. Just look at it, man. I mean, it's just so ridiculous how you could just believe it.
Yes, citation needed. Like, is your evidence just look at it? Like, I can show you things that don't look real, yet they it could just be because
and I
of
also
the
got
glitch
into
or whatever,
I got into
and that are real.
I got into a debate about that with some kind of photographic computer CGI expert about that also, and I actually aced that test that he gave me. He gave me a test showing like, oh, what could you tell is real and what could you tell is fake. I got like an 85%.
Wait.
I got like an 85% on that test. And meanwhile, the guy who is the computer graphic CGI expert, he got like a 50%. So obviously I'm pretty good at spotting out fakes, and
Yeah, but the problem is that just because you can spot a few fakes doesn't mean that
I understand
you got some wrong, didn't you?
Right? I understand 100%. I understand that.
Yeah. Like,
but what I'm
just
saying
because-
is what I'm saying is it's, with obviously, I mean, you look at just a PS4 game, the PS4 is how old, you know what I'm saying? You look at a PS4 game, okay, it looks thousands of times more real than what the Himawari looks like, right? It's just, easy. It's just so easy to fake that. It's not that difficult. You're gonna tell me that's not difficult to fake with today's computing power? Do you understand how realistic CGI looks nowadays? Do you have any clue how realistic with the what's it called? What's that deep fake? You understand how real?
Okay, so
that's not real deep fake. You know that, right?
So just because something like, what do you have to compare it to? Like, do you have have you actually been to space to see how fake it would look if you were out in space? And also, do you think that NASA has all this computing power yet they can't somehow make it look real?
Have you been to space to know that the Earth is real? That the Earth around is real?
No, I haven't been to space.
Okay, so then I just thought I'd argue right back here. There you go.
No, but you're claiming that it's fake, that it's CGI.
You're claiming that it's real.
Well, do you have any positive evidence that it is CGI? Like,
do you have any positive evidence that it's real?
I have positive evidence that it's real due to it matching the cloud formations. The cloud formations on it match the cloud formations in the sky.
And like I said, it's very easy to fake that. You could just literally just have a computer CGI project that onto a sphere and just gather weather data from around the world, from a couple thousand weather stations placed around the world, and just map it out on a ball. That's not that difficult.
You still got no positive evidence that it's CGI. Just because you can
explain... All I'm saying is it's not difficult to fake that.
Yeah, but you still got no... Just because something can be faked doesn't mean that it is fake.
I understand that.
Do you have any positive evidence that it is CGI? I mean, you do realize that it would be quite a big undertaking to be able to create
my
this.
Position. You're misunderstanding. I'm not saying that it's... Well, my subjective personal belief would say that it's fake because obviously I don't believe that any man-made object is flying around, past, in the 200-mile range above the Earth. I just think that's just total nonsense. But that's my subjective opinion. What I would say objectively is that, in an objective sense, is that if if you can fake something, right? It's kind of funny how I used to watch these shows when I was a kid. Watching these shows on like sci-fi. People would say they seen ghosts or whatever, and they would, oh look, it's fake because they put a little paper towel in front of the camera. That doesn't mean that it's fake. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that it's not really terribly difficult. You're making it seem like it is preposterously difficult outside of the range of the technology that we have today on Earth to be able to fake a Himawari projection on a sphere. That is absolutely ridiculous. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you still have no positive evidence that it is fake.
But I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that it's absolutely 100% fake. Listen, you're not going to catch me making a claim about the 100% positivity about anything on any debate that you're ever going to find me on. You could Google my name on YouTube. You will never find me making a claim that I'm saying 100% certainty that anything is anything. Besides the fact that I know that I am me and I am in control of my consciousness and my movements, and I am myself. That is the closest thing that I know to be 100% certain. Everything else is, 95, 98, 94, 92, 89, 85, whatever after that. I don't believe, I'm not saying that the Himawari is 100% fake just because you can't fake it. That would be a logical fallacy. I understand that. All I'm saying is
So basically your argument is, I'm not saying that it is fake. It could be faked, but I'm not going to let you say that it's real because there are reasons that it could be faked.
No, because the reasons that you can't prove with any scientific experiment whatsoever that water is adhering to the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone, that you can't prove with any scientific experiment whatsoever that the atmosphere is existing in a perfect vacuum of near perfect vacuum of space, and you can't prove that space can be bent, nor can time can be bent. So if those three can't be proven, then everything that about the ISS and the Himawari satellite and every single satellite ever in existence in the history of the world is completely fake.
Okay, well, let's get to the what one do you want to go with first? Water or air in the vacuum? Which one of those do you want to go with first?
Yeah, water.
Okay, water on the ball. Cool. So do you know how water works?
It seeks its own level. That's what I know about it.
Okay, do you think that there might possibly be a better explanation for what shape water will take?
Prove to me that it can form a sphere.
Okay, so water will adhere to the forces acting upon it. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Adhere to the forces acting upon it. Okay, show me that with an experiment.
I blow on water, that will create a force of air pushing against it, which will create waves.
Okay, that's air pressure, which is different from gravity.
Yeah, but that's water adhering to the forces that are acting upon it.
No, but no, this is totally different. There is no adhering when you're blowing on water. There's nothing adhering to anything. You're just blowing on water and it's moving.
It's adhering to the force acting upon it, though. There is a force that, by blowing on it, you are creating a force that is acting upon the water, and that water is... Yes.
Okay, you're playing semantics. You're using the word adhering in one context and then using it to prove the other context. What I'm using the word adhering to is two materials which are different, which adhere. That's the definition of adherence, is two objects like glue to wood, right? Glue is different than wood. So glue adheres to wood, but cohesion is two materials that are similar. So two water molecules will cohere, right? Okay, so
or I can say
you have water adhering to the earth. Water is different than dirt and rock and stone, right? It's different.
I could use conforming, like water conforms to the forces acting upon it, if you want to use that.
It is adhering to it because the earth is accelerating through the universe. You understand that?
What?
The earth is accelerating not only elliptically around the sun, but it is accelerating around the galaxy, and it is accelerating through the universe. You understand that?
Oh, you're talking about it's not really accelerating, it's going at a constant speed.
Excuse me, it's not accelerating, really. So the earth is not accelerating around the sun?
I mean, it's accelerating on some, you could say that it's accelerating on some vectors, but not...
Right, it's accelerating.
I suppose you could try and define it like that.
It's also accelerating around the galaxy. And it's also accelerating, and the galaxy itself is accelerating. I love when globes say, "Oh, well, you don't feel motion. You only feel acceleration." Well, every single literal motion of the Earth is accelerating. Everything is accelerating. Absolutely, even the Earth spinning is accelerating very slowly, but it's accelerating. That's why they said back when the dinosaurs were around,
Well-
like, hundreds of millions of years ago, they said that the Earth's day was much longer than it is now. That means that the Earth was spinning much slower, right? So
Well,
even the Earth's spinning is accelerating.
Well, the levels of acceleration are negligible. Like if you want to use acceleration, then the levels of acceleration are negligible. Like I've worked this out I've calculated it for the.
No, but it doesn't matter. It is
spinning.
accelerating. It is accelerating.
Yeah, but that would be negligible.
Negligible. Millions of miles an hour. Wow, that's negligible, huh? So the galaxy flying through the universe at 2.5 million miles an hour is negligible.
Do you know the difference between rotational velocity and I think it's linear velocity?
Right, linear velocity is just traveling in one direction. Rotational is it's spinning.
Yeah. So when it comes to rotational, you don't use miles per hour. You use RPM.
Wait, say that again.
When you're talking about rotational velocity, you don't use miles per hour. You use RPM.
Okay, but you can't translate it into miles per hour.
You can translate it into miles per hour, but if you're using miles per hour when it comes to rotational velocity, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, it doesn't mean anything in RPM when you talk about the planet.
I mean, it
Because
kind of does.
No, excuse me. You see the fallacy that they do? Okay. So you're saying that rotational velocity is calculated with RPM, which I agree. But when you're talking about the Earth, which is not revolving in a minute, right? It's revolving far longer than that. Okay, we know that. Okay. So why would you use RPM to calculate that?
Well, you can calculate it. It would be 0 point something.
But that's just stupid, isn't it?
Or you could use RPD, rotations per day.
Okay.
Yeah, and it does 1 rotation per day. Well,
okay, but then when you take the circumference of the Earth, that's very fast.
Not really. Like
really,
when you take,
thousands of miles an hour is not fast. I think that's pretty fast.
I mean, it seems fast because you're using miles per hour, but when you're using rotational speed, it's actually very slow.
Excuse me. When you're talking about the Earth's circumference, you use miles, right? Or kilometers, same thing. That's just whatever. But we use miles here. Okay, so you use miles per hour when you use miles per hour because the Earth is measured in miles.
I mean, you could use it, but it's not going to translate into whatever acceleration you want to.
Well, it's not going to translate into whatever acceleration you want when you're using RPM if the Earth doesn't revolve in 1 minute, is it?
You can actually use that. You've just got to take into consideration a couple of things. I did some calculations.
Okay, so I'll take into consideration some other things with the miles per hour. What's the difference?
So here's the things that you got to take into consideration. Like what I'm guessing you're trying to calculate how fast things, what the centrifugal force. I think it's centrifugal. Centrifugal force should be on an object when it's spinning at that speed, right? With the circumference of the Earth, right?
I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
I'm guessing you're trying to calculate the centrifugal force that should be acting on an object that's on the.
I've never even said the word centrifugal in this entire debate. Listen, for what I said
but
first,
that's what's being implied.
What?
Otherwise, it's like if we're not this conversation completely meaningless because it sounds like that's what you're getting at, right? And the centrifugal force is the force that we would be accounting for if we're talking about 1,000 miles per hour, which I've calculated should be, I think it's something like 3 centimeters per second squared, which isn't very much. Is that?
I don't know what.
But if you're not talking about
what calculation you used, number one, number two, you still haven't proven with a scientific. See, again, you use mathematics. You haven't proven with a scientific experiment, which is what I demand, which is part of my 3 propositions, which I demand. I demand experiments. I don't care about your mathematics because, like I've proven to you before, your mathematics doesn't work when you talk about gravity and when you're talking about stars at the edge of the galaxy, right? It doesn't work. So what do you have to do? You have to literally invent dark matter. You have to postulate. You have to say dark matter was invented before any observations of dark matter were even made. You understand that? None of this gravitational lensing, what they say is proof of dark matter, none of that even existed. But none of that existed before they found out that the stars at the edge of the galaxy were moving faster than what they purported to be using mathematics. So mathematics doesn't work all the time.
So neither you or I are astrophysicists, so I don't think either of us should be having a debate on
I'm just
on
stating facts. These are
astrophysics.
just plain facts. These are just plain facts. They observed the stars moving at the edge of the galaxy faster than what the mathematics purported it to be, to what it should be moving. So what do? They say, hey, might as well say that there's some kind of matter out there that's causing this attraction, because gravity has to be real in that paradigm. They have a paradigm. They have a belief system. They have a religious belief that gravity, that mass, is just creating this force on its own.
So first off, this is irrelevant to the debate.
Listen, do you understand how ridiculous this is? How ridiculous gravity is?
Hold on, Wotan.
This is irrelevant to the debate.
No, it's not irrelevant. It's absolutely relevant. Absolutely relevant.
Wotan,
that has absolutely everything to do with it.
I appreciate your passion, but just to give a chance to be sure PlanarWalk gets this thought out.
Yeah, so dark matter is irrelevant to the debate when we're talking about a debate when it comes to whether the Earth is flat or whether it's a globe. Because dark matter, to talk about dark matter, you've got to kind of accept that. To talk about, or I suppose you could maybe not accept it, but to talk about dark matter, there's a lot of things that you're skipping there. Like you've got to go, okay, well, the Earth, could be a globe or something, because otherwise you're skipping gravity completely and onto dark matter.
What I'm showing with dark matter is that gravity has shown to not work. On a galactic scale, it doesn't work.
But that's on a galactic scale. You do realize that just because something doesn't work on every scale.
But listen, do you understand that when Newtonian made his gravity doesn't work on a solar system scale? And then they had to say Einsteinian gravity works on the solar system scale. But now, all of a sudden, the Einsteinian gravity doesn't work on a galactic scale. So now what are they going to do? They're going to, this new scientist, the whatever the fuck his name is going to be, okay, he's going to come out, he's going to, oh, this works on the galactic scale. And then the next guy's going to come out, oh, that doesn't work on the universal scale. You understand? They just have a problem with gravity. Gravity doesn't work. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. You can't just keep inventing bullshit just to accommodate your beliefs. It doesn't work.
But you kind of got to accept that there was a problem with the solar system, and then they figured out, okay, this is the problem with the solar system, and and that's kind of accepting that there's a solar system, and the solar system doesn't, if you want to get back to flat Earth, the solar system doesn't work with flat Earth, and so you kind of left there. You just haven't proven a single thing. You haven't shown me do you have a single scientific experiment proving anything that water can adhere to the exterior shape by virtue of gravity alone? Okay, let's get back to water rather than going off to dark matter.
Beautiful. Okay,
the dark matter is a red herring. So
show me the experiment.
As I said before, water will adhere, or water will conform to the forces acting upon it. Do you agree or disagree? This is something that can easily be shown, and take any water and apply any force to it, and it will conform to that force.
You're using conform a little, semantically there, but it will act, in accordance with the forces acting on it. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Right. So now we've got to just say, well, can we show that gravity is real? And there are many things that we can do to show that gravity is real. You've heard of the Cavendish, I'm assuming?
Cavendish has nothing to do with water around the Earth.
Yeah, but it shows that gravity is a force.
With mathematics.
Can you disprove Cavendish?
Can you prove Cavendish?
Yes.
Okay, well, I can show you an article right now showing that Cavendish is bullshit. That every single time that they take every time they do the Cavendish experiment in a scientific lab with the world's most advanced technology on the face of the Earth, every time they do this Cavendish experiment, they wind up getting a value which is sometimes 10 and sometimes even 100 times different than the value that they got before. Would you like to see that?
Okay, link it.
Okay, sure.
I want to see this.
Helping Big G get back on track.
And as a side note, folks,
how do I link in the video? How do I link inside the chat?
I think there's a chat.
I got it.
Zoom chat.
I got it. Okay. So what it says here is Big G is difficult to measure because gravity is far the weakest for the fundamental forces, and because it is impossible to shield experiments from the gravitational influences of their environment. Today, the official value is G equals 6.673 times 10 to the negative 11 in units meters cubed.
Okay.
With it on.
Hmm?
Okay, hold on. I got because I haven't seen this article in a while, so I have to know exactly
The
where this article.
traditional Cavendish torsion balance experiment test masses are suspended on wire that in responses to a gravitational torque created by source masses placed nearby. The rotation is opposed to the torsion of the wire. By measuring the amount of twist in the wire, which is proportional to the gravitational attraction between the masses, the value of G can then be determined. Last year, James Kunz and Stephen Merkowitz of the University of Washington in Seattle used a highly modified version of Cavendish's torsion balance in which both the source and the test masses rotated on turntables. The key feature was to set up that the torsion fiber did not twist, which, according to Gundlach, enabled them to avoid most of the systematic uncertainties. Last year, Gundlach and Merkowitz reported a value of 6. With an uncertainty of just 14 ppm.
Oh, right here. It says right here. Moreover, they claim to have discovered the reasons for the errant measurement that led to the factor of 10 increase to the uncertainty surrounding the constant. So if it's a constant, there should never be a difference in when they measure it.
Wait.
That's the problem with gravity. Is gravity's a constant. It's a constant force. So it should, every time they measure it, it should be the exact same.
Where does it say this?
Right on the top, right under the picture, the second paragraph under the picture, the last sentence.
Last sentence.
The second paragraph under the first picture, the last sentence.
Okay. Moreover, they claim to have discovered the reasons for the errant measurement that led to the factor of 10 increase. Yeah, so that's a problem with the measurement. Right,
which means that gravity is not a constant.
No, it just means that there's an issue with the measurement.
Well, why is there an issue? Listen, hold on a second. Did you see in this image how preposterously expensive this equipment is right here? Do you have any idea?
It looks like it would be very expensive.
I can absolutely guarantee you from my experience. I absolutely guarantee each one of these pieces right here, I'm pretty sure it looks like brass. Maybe bronze. It's actually bronze. It looks like bronze. Each one of those cylinders of bronze right there, I guarantee you, probably in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Easy.
Yeah, but that's not your article does not disprove gravity. It just says
it's showing that it's not a constant.
It's not showing that it's not a constant. It's showing
the title of the article is helping Big G get back on track. That means they have a problem. Or every time they measured Big G, they get a different result.
It's problem with previous measurements that may have had other factors.
Now, could you possibly imagine that this guy in the 1700s, when they were still on horseback and carriage, that this guy was able to measure the weight of the earth in a barn? What was in the barn? A barn is not an airtight seal, is it? Right. So obviously there's going to be drafts going on inside of that barn, right? So the drafts going on inside of that barn are going to affect the apparatus from spinning, right? You understand that there's videos on YouTube that the people, they get so frustrated when they try to perform the Cavendish experiment that they wind up giving up. Because they say it's the most impossibly accurate experiment that they could possibly ever devise. Because God forbid if they even move their hand in front of the experiment, that the draft from their hand is going to affect the apparatus and make it spin.
Okay.
If they have a radiator on in the room, the hot air is going to affect the apparatus.
Okay. Let me just explain something to you. Growing up as a kid, do you used to measure your height?
Right.
So there's a couple of ways you can measure your height. So one way that you could do is just take a tape measure from your toe to your head. And this would be useful, say, if you couldn't stand up against a wall and then place like a book on your head to put a mark and then measure the height up to that mark. So like the measurement that you'd get from placing a tape measure and sort of measuring up to your head, that would be roughly accurate, but there's a few issues with that. Like you might have a few centimeters of difference, right? Now, if you were to measure the height from the ground to the ground to the mark on the wall, you'd get a much better result. But you might get a few millimeters off because maybe there's an issue with the tape measure. Like I know a lot of tape measures have this issue of a little.
PlanarWalk.
One second. So sorry to cut you off, Wotan. Just to give everybody a summary. I think some of the people in the audience, they're, as well as me, to be honest, it's hard for us to follow the article that's being discussed just because I think we're a little bit behind in the sense that we haven't seen it. So are you able to give like a summary just to kind of bring everybody together on the same kind of focal point again?
The focal point of this article is that they're trying to get an accurate measurement for big G. And every time that they measure big G, they get a different result, sometimes in the factor of 10, sometimes in the factor of even more. Okay. So, I mean, if you could imagine that this guy in a barn was able to weigh the earth in a barn in the 1700s. Okay. It's just the stupidest thing. It's the stupidest thing you could ever imagine. A freaking barn, man. They didn't even know what electromagnetism was back then. You understand that, right? They had no idea. How do you rule out electromagnetism in that experiment?
I mean,
you have no idea. The thing is that the science was in such an infancy back then. They had no idea what variables to rule out in the experiment to be able to know what was acting on these things. They had no idea about anything. They didn't even have plumbing. They didn't even have, I don't understand. It's ridiculous. They even have like advanced, what do they have, like freaking wood pipes like back then for shitting down a freaking outhouse? You know, it's just crazy to think that this guy could weigh the earth in a barn in the 1700s.
A barn, guys. So yeah, basically the article reports that my summary of the article reports is that they set up a more precise measuring apparatus to be able to measure it more precisely, which gets rid of this uncertainty, because whenever you measure something, you do have a level of uncertainty. This uncertainty might be to a factor of 10 because there are confounding variables. It's very, very difficult to make something that's absolutely perfect for measuring something, whether it be height, whether it be...
You can't possibly measure it. You can't.
I mean, you can measure it, though.
You can't.
Why can't you measure it?
There's the variables that you have to rule out are just ridiculous. You can't measure it. I'm sorry.
That's why you control for these variables.
You can't, though.
Yes, you can.
No, sorry.
Why can't you control for these variables?
It says it in the article itself that it's almost impossible to rule out all the variables for coming with the value. It says it right there in the article. I'm not even just it's not even just incredulity or anything. It says it in the article that it's almost impossible to rule out all the variables.
Well, you can minimize variables. You do realize that you can minimize variables, right?
Okay, how about this? Let's get back on topic. How about you take this force of gravity, which is bending two concepts, which you can't bend concepts. I would love to know how you bend concepts. Matter is bending concepts. The only thing in the universe that can bend the concept. You can bend dreams. You can bend freedom. You can bend liberty. You can bend, hatred. You can bend concepts. That's really fascinating to me. How you can do that. I would love to know how matter can do that. But even if you grant that, okay, can you show me how that fake force can make water adhere to the exterior of a shape by virtue of this fake force alone? Do you have an experiment to prove that?
So when it comes to allowing it to adhere to water, it's a force. Or
but listen. Do you have yes or no? Do you have an experiment to prove that? Yes or no?
I mean, if you can treat it as a force, like, do you disagree that Cavendish does show that it's a force?
Do you have an experiment to prove that water can adhere to the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone?
So, do you disagree with Cavendish? Like, are we accepting Cavendish, or are we just disagreeing with it?
It's total fake science.
So you're disagreeing with Cavendish?
Yeah, I don't think you can get an accurate result in a bond set in the 1700s. I'm sorry.
Well, we've gotten accurate results since then.
Okay. Prove that those accurate results can make water adhere to the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone.
So because we can treat gravity as a force and water will conform to the forces acting upon it, then water can adhere to a planet-sized object by virtue of gravity.
Now you're postulating. Hold on. Now you're postulating. Now you go into the fairyland. Now you went from the real world, and then you just jumped magically right into the fairyland without no experiments. That in between, I want an experiment to prove that. Do you have an experiment to prove that?
Well, I've given you a couple of experiments. When you add them up, the consequence of them.
Oh, okay. So you take experiments which have nothing to do with each other, and then you add them up, and then you come up with a fairyland magical force that makes water conform around the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone, which has never been experienced in the entire Earth, in the history of the Earth, has never been shown. Water can never do that. But what you believe,
it's because you need multiple experiments.
Excuse me. What you believe has never been observed in the history of humanity.
Hold up. Let me ask you something.
You understand?
Hold up. Let me ask you something. Do you think that we only need one experiment for everything that?
I mean, just you don't have. The thing is, you don't have any. Just show me one. Just show me anything. Just show me something.
I've given you two experiments that when you take them, follow them to their logical conclusion, it would show that, yes, water can stick to the outside of a shape due to gravity.
I want to see the sphere with the water around it. I want you to show me that.
Okay, how
you just postulate.
Do you propose? Okay, how do you propose that I show you that?
Well, according to Red's rhetoric, you would need a planet the size of the Earth, wouldn't you? Isn't that begging the question now?
I mean, if I were to take you to Mars and then show you...
Oh, yeah, well, let's go to Mars. Plan our shoot. Let's go to Mars together. Yeah, let's go with the fake NASA trip to Mars. That's never going to happen. I will put my life on it that nobody is ever going to go to Mars. That fake NASA funding bullshit that they were going to send people to Mars, that's never going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen because it's bullshit.
So the issue is that you're trying to... you're not accepting things, right? Because I don't believe you want to want one experiment that shows two things that would be extremely difficult and expensive to do.
That's too bad, isn't it? Because we have thousands and thousands and thousands of experiments which show, air not being able to exist in a vacuum, and thousands of experiments showing that water cannot exist on the exterior of a shape. We could show experiments proving
that you can take multiple experiments which when followed to their natural conclusion will show this.
Okay, which follow to their natural conclusion, which means you're just assuming shit out of your ass. That's exactly what it means. See,
no,
what
it doesn't.
What I have, excuse me, what I have, I can show you. I could literally take a ball right now and put water on it. You're not going to see water adhere to the exterior of a shape, right? Excuse me, I drank a little bit by virtue of gravity alone, right? You're not going to see that. Okay, so I could show you 10,000, 100,000, a million experiments proving the opposite, but you can't show me one.
I mean, I've shown you. You've got to take multiple experiments into account. When you can't test something directly,
it just sounds like you're just full of shit. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not full of shit. When you've got to follow things to their natural conclusion. If you have things that don't follow to their natural conclusion, then you've got an issue. If you can't follow things to their natural...
What you're saying is you're playing...
Wotan, I do want to give him a chance to finish again. He was still talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got Cavendish, which shows that mass will attract mass, and when you've got a mass the size of the Earth, that would definitely attract water. And then you've got water conforming to forces. And because water conforms to forces, then any force like gravity will have an effect on water. And following that to its natural conclusion, if the Earth were a ball, then water would conform to the outside of it.
Okay, let me show you how fallacious that is. So you're saying that gravity is a force, and the force is the force, the object that's acting on the force, of the force that's acting on the object is going to conform to the force, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's with gravity and water, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but we've shown that the stars at the edge of the galaxy do not conform to the forces of gravity of the black hole in the center of the galaxy. So that's the problem that I have.
But that's on the level of the gravity.
No, but now you're full of shit. Now you're full of shit again, you see? Because now you're backtracking and you're saying, oh, but that doesn't matter in that case. No, it does matter. It does matter, okay? Because that's exactly what you're fucking saying. You understand me? You're telling me that gravity is going to make water adhere to the exterior shape by virtue of gravity alone, but then when these scientists come up with gravity and the gravitational mathematical formulas of the supermassive black hole in the center of the galaxy, and they say that these stars at the edge of the galaxy should be moving at a certain speed, but oops, when they observe the stars moving at those speeds, they're not moving at those speeds. They're moving 10 times faster, aren't they? But they're wrong. So you don't know until you observe it, do you?
So So you're just skipping over the fact that we can measure gravity as a force. Like it doesn't. It doesn't matter whether.
What I'm showing you. What I'm showing you is.
Wotan, let's just give him a chance. I
No,
promise.
he's
we'll come right back to
misrepresenting
you.
what I'm saying.
No, it doesn't.
What I'm saying.
Here's the thing: it doesn't matter that gravity, like maybe it's wrong in some areas. That isn't what matters. What matters is that it is a force that will act upon objects. So it will act upon water.
Wotan,
You can't just ignore that.
We gotta give him. Let's let him finish, Wotan.
You can't just ignore that it will act. You can't just ignore that you can treat it as a force that will act upon objects. Like you're completely ignoring that and going, well, it's wrong in this area, so it must be wrong in all areas.
You're saying that it could be wrong in one area, but in the end, when we're talking about the water on the Earth, oh no, it's right in that scenario. But then when it's wrong on the galactic scale of the stars at the end of the universe, it could be wrong there, but no, it can't be wrong on the Earth. Why not? Have you observed it?
We've shown it to be something that can act as a force.
Okay, well, they've shown that gravity can act as a force on the stars at the edge of the galaxy, but they're wrong about that. Oops, too bad. Now they got to invent dark matter.
Well, the exact calculations don't work out there. It's not that
the exact calculations
it's not that we
don't
can't
work on the Earth scale. They don't work. Sorry. What's the difference?
It could be very well there, but
it could be. Okay, so that's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line.
Hold up. Let me finish.
That's where I draw the line.
We have to let him finish.
Let me finish. We can show it does work on objects, right? And we can go, okay, the force of gravity between this object and this object is about this much, and we can scale it up a little bit and go, okay, so it does mean that. Like what you're arguing that the force would be. Are you arguing that the force of gravity on the stars way out there should be like weaker or stronger, or is weaker or stronger?
It should conform to the mathematical equation that they spent hundreds of years perfecting. But oops, they found out to be wrong. Oops, sorry. Now we got to invent dark matter because it doesn't work.
So when it comes to that kind of thing. There's a heaps of reasons why it could be wrong.
Oops. Sorry, it's wrong. Oops. We just got to
just because it's slightly wrong doesn't mean that it doesn't work on the Earth. It works on the Earth.
James, I'm sick and tired of you just let him talk. Can I just interrupt for a second?
Wotan, listen,
I think he's sick and tired of you talking over me. And
Wotan, it's like at some point...
He's just going to repeat the same bullshit he's been saying the whole time.
We have to let him talk, though. It's a debate. We've got to give him a chance.
Hey, he's just getting steamrolled. It's funny.
Well, I mean, Wotan, to be fair, I mean, you're a passionate person, and sometimes I think you've steamrolled other people, including maybe
they deserve
some
to be steamrolled.
Well, Wotan, that's not fair. We got to give everybody a shot.
Liars.
They might think you deserve to be steamrolled, so we got to give everybody a shot.
Liars deserve to be steamrolled.
We've got all right. So we're gonna give PlanarWalk a chance. I promise we'll come back to you, Wotan.
All right. So the point that I was going to make is that when it comes to Cavendish, right, we can scale that up to the size of the Earth, right, and it works well enough there, and we can take that, and we can have this era of let's say 1 Newton or something like that, and then we can have like what's that? Oh yeah, water still sticks to the Earth. You can't skip over that.
What do you mean you can't skip over it?
There is a force that is acting on objects, which will mean that mass will attract mass. You can't just skip over that.
That's what you believe. I congratulate you for your religious beliefs, but I just don't believe you.
And it's been measured. Like you linked an article that measured it.
You know what else has been measured? It's been measured that the black hole at the center of the galaxy should be making stars moving at a certain speed, but it doesn't work. Oops. Doesn't work. Sorry. Oops.
Yeah, but that's...
Oops.
That doesn't disprove that mass will attract mass.
Just saying oops it doesn't make it okay to interrupt. You gotta give him a chance.
It doesn't work, James. I'm sorry, his model doesn't work.
Listen, we've got to
give him a chance. It's funny how the globe earth to say the flat earth model doesn't work, but oops, sorry, the heliocentric model doesn't work because the stars in the galaxy don't work.
Do you think that just because gravity doesn't quite work out there means that mass doesn't attract mass?
Excuse me, quiet. Don't play semantics with me, buddy. Don't fucking play that bullshit with me. Quiet work?
Wait, hold
They're
on.
moving
What was
10
I
times
don't
faster.
it's Wotan. Let's just hear the question that he asked. Can you say that one more time, PlanarWalk? I honestly I'm not trying to be antagonistic. I just didn't hear the actual question.
So do you think that just because the mathematics for gravity don't work out on the edge of the galaxy, do you think that means that mass doesn't attract mass?
Okay, first of all, you played a little semantic game. You said quite work. Okay, the difference is quite drastic. It is literally over 10 times wrong. Okay,
Yeah,
it's like saying 1 + 1 is 10. That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, but do you think that disproves that mass attracts mass?
Can you prove that?
I can use Cavendish to show that mass attracts mass.
Okay, can you show that water can do that with those forces?
Well, water will conform to forces, so.
But now you're just you're skipping the observable, demonstrable, empirical evidence, and you're just postulating. Again, that's the problem that I'm having. You're not understanding my position.
Okay.
You're not.
Okay.
Now, listen. Let me summarize. I'm going to summarize. Okay, for the final time. Okay, you are the moment that you say that you have an experiment for X, right, which is the force of matter. Okay, I'm going to grant you that, even though I don't believe it. I'm going to grant you it. Okay, you're saying that happens. But then you jump to the conclusion and you say that water is able to adhere to the earth with those forces without any observable evidence whatsoever and without any experiment to prove whatsoever that can even happen in the first place. That's where I draw the conclusion. You know why? Because they did that same exact thing with the supermassive black hole in the center of the galaxy, and they were able to mathematically show with the gravitational forces and how much gravity that supermassive black hole, with the diameter of that supermassive black hole that's in the center of the galaxy, how much weight it is, how much gravitational force you should be exerting. They're able to calculate how fast the stars at the edge of the galaxy should be moving. Now, what happened? They're wrong. Okay, so what I'm saying is that you could be wrong also about water adhering to the exterior shape by virtue of gravity alone. That's exactly my point.
So water will conform to forces acting upon it. We both
Stars will act to the forces conforming upon it. You're just sounding like a parrot right now. It's ridiculous.
Hold on, Wotan.
You're not understanding my point.
We let him finish. I know it might seem as if,
but he's just repeating himself.
Well, it might be that he's going to add something to it, and he's just.
But he's not. He's not. He's not.
There could be a variety of reasons. It might be that he's just trying to kind of give the big picture view to kind of give the audience context.
The big picture. He's been saying this meme the whole time.
Wotan,
it's a meme.
We've got to give him a chance. Okay.
So Wotan, what reason? Right. Let's grant that. Let's ignore the whole thing with the galaxy because that's not really relevant. We can
let's just ignore where they're wrong. Yeah, let's just do that. Yeah, let's just ignore the
because there is a force that is acting upon
excuse me.
There is a force that is acting upon the balls. There is a force that is acting upon the balls, which you can't just ignore that force there. And if this force is acting upon the balls, which is due to mass, then why does this force not act upon water?
You do understand that calculation with the stars at the edge of the galaxy is one of the biggest miscalculations in the history of science. You understand that, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't apply to water.
Okay, but I'm not going to allow you to just ignore that, buddy. I'm not going to allow you. That's like saying, you got it's just ridiculous. That's like me saying that I'm claiming something to be true, and the one problem that I have to what I'm claiming to be true, you're just going to say, I'm just going to ignore that part. No, fuck that. I want to.
Let me give an analogy. Have you ever measured the circumference of a wheel?
Of a wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's say that you got the circumference of a wheel and you input that into the wheel size and you take a drive somewhere. And just say when you take a drive, the values are way off, right? Do you think that that's because this wheel doesn't have a circumference, or you can't use the circumference of the wheel or something? Did you not measure
the analogy is not correct?
But it is correct. You may have been off. You may have been off by like a millimeter. You were off by about a millimeter in measuring the circumference of the wheel. But when you take a trip, your measurement is off by kilometers. Does that mean that you can't use that measurement of the wheel? Like the measurement of the wheel is good enough for the scale of the wheel, but it's just not good enough for scales of taking long trips.
It's not good enough.
But it doesn't
It's
mean
wrong.
that you can't. It doesn't
can't
mean
say
that the
that it's
wheel
correct,
has
can
no
you?
circumference then.
You can't say that it's correct, can you? It's wrong.
But like, just say you take a drive around town and you get a value that is pretty accurate to the. Just say the value from one side of town to the other is 2 kilometers, and you get that reading. But when you take a ride across the states, you get a value that's not quite matching the value that's going across the states. Or maybe the way that you've measured it is you've measured how far is it from New York to LA, right? And you've got to take detours and stuff, which would inflate the readings, giving you a different measurement than the value that you get from New York to LA. Does that mean that the measurement of your tire is incorrect, or does it mean that there's something else that you've got to take into consideration,
it's
which might be? But does that mean that the value that you measured for the tire is incorrect?
Yes.
Like, let's say you measured the value from the tire perfectly to the best of your knowledge, right? And then you take a trip across the states, and you find that you get a value that's higher than the distance that you measure from New York to LA. Does that mean that the measurement of the size of the wheel was incorrect?
Of course.
Do you not think that there could be other factors that you've got to factor in that may be unconsidered?
Sure. You got to take everything into account. Your measurement is wrong, and there's other factors that you need to take into account. Everything. Sure.
But so you're just going to throw out both the measurement of the wheel and the measurement that you get?
Yes, because you don't know what's accurate, do you? To the best, because you said you measure it to the best of your knowledge. Well, to the best of your knowledge, if you want to talk about it in Cavendish's time, right, with the scientific ignorance of that time, where they believed witches caused illness. Okay, it's and you're trying to tell me that this guy was accurate when the medical knowledge back then was they believed that spirits were causing the flu. Okay, I would say that whatever they were using back then to measure anything was wrong.
We will go into Q&A soon. Just want to give everybody a heads up. But go ahead, PlanarWalk.
So just because you get a different reading on large scales, right, doesn't mean that your measurements are completely way off. It just means that
But they're wrong.
Well, it just means that you may not have taken something into
wrong.
account.
You cannot tell me that they're correct.
If it works on
tell me that they're correct.
Well, I can tell you that, like when I measure it, just say I get a measurement of, a meter whenever I measure my tires, right? And I consistently get that measurement no matter what technique that I use. And when I go across town, I get the exact same measurement when I go from one side of town to the other. And I get the exact same measurement of distance as what other people would give me. But when I travel from LA to New York, I get a measurement that's way off. Now, do you think that there could be other confounding variables that I may not have taken into consideration? Like maybe I've got to travel through icy terrain, which would cause slipping, which would artificially inflate the value that I get.
Maybe take everything into account. I already said this. You're just repeating yourself. It's ridiculous. You're just repeating yourself. You got to take everything into account. Everything is wrong.
But if I'm going to use that in a practical sense, like I want to know how far it is from my place to my friend's place by driving, which would allow me to work out how much fuel that I'm going to use.
Well, listen,
it works well enough to be able to.
Can I ask you something? You can't say that it's correct, can you? You can't say it's absolutely true.
I'm sorry, Wotan. Let's just let him finish that thought, and I promise we'll come right back to you.
Like if I'm going to use that for practical purposes, it doesn't suddenly make it not true that I'll use $20 of gas when I go to my friend's place. It just means that when I try and apply it to large scales, I have to account for larger values. Like if I'm going to use whenever I go to my friend's place, I can go, okay, this uses X amount of gas. I put $20 in the car, I can go to my friend's place and I'll make it there fine. But when I go across the United States, I try and compare that value. I run out of fuel halfway because I didn't account for confounding things like icy terrain or all that kind of stuff.
Right. You're just proving yourself wrong. It's amazing.
I'm not proving myself wrong. I'm just showing that just because something applies at a smaller scale doesn't mean that it's going to apply at a large scale.
Well, excuse
Do you
me.
not grasp this
No.
concept?
James said that I could have a word, so be quiet. So even at the smaller scale, there's things that you need to take into account that you could be wrong also. It doesn't matter the scale of it. The scale of it means is irrelevant. It's arbitrary. What I'm saying is you're using something and then you're saying that that something applies to absolutely everything, but it doesn't, because it's shown to do not apply to everything. It doesn't. That same exact force that you use to quote unquote show that the water is adhering to the exterior shape by virtue of the fake force, which is bending fake concepts. Okay, you're showing that to happen, and then you're saying that that happens on the galactic scale also, but it doesn't. Okay,
Well,
so if it doesn't happen at the galactic scale, how do you know what happens at the planetary scale without any observation whatsoever? Now, here's the way the analogy is wrong. Okay, so you're using you're saying that you're going to your friend's house by measuring the circumference of the tire, and then you're going to your friend's house. That's something that you know, that you're experiencing, that you know that is real, right? If I go right now to my friend's house, I know for a fact that I went to my friend's house because I just went to my friend's house. That's something that I experienced myself, that I observed myself, that I know that is real, that I know that I could prove to be real. Understand? But you cannot prove to me to be real the water existing around the exterior of a shape by virtue of gravity alone. You can't do that, can you? You cannot show me an experiment to prove that, can you? I can show you thousands and thousands of videos of me with a head cam going to my friend's house and with different kinds of cameras, real-time live video feed cameras, and people next to me with live video feed cameras of me going to my friend's house, right? But you can't do that with the globe Earth, can you? You can't show me an experiment, can you? You can't show me any observable evidence, can you? You can't show me shit, can you?
We're going to give
You've got
the
to
last
combine
word
multiple
to
experiments.
PlanarWalk and then go into Q&A.
Yeah, combine multiple experiments. Yeah, that's just
Hold
the
on.
most fallacious
We're going to
thing
give the
I've ever heard in my
last
life.
word to PlanarWalk and then go into Q&A. So if you got just a couple of rebuttal points to what Wotan just said, then we'll go into Q&A.
Yeah, so the problem is that you're trying to say, oh, just because you can't prove this thing because it would be very difficult to prove it, that means that it doesn't exist. But you've got to use things like abductive reasoning, which means that you use multiple data points to go, okay, well, this is how things should work in reality. Now, if you can disprove one of those data points, like if you can disprove that water would adhere, like if you can say, okay, there are forces that if you can say, okay, water wouldn't adhere to gravity because of this particular reason, then we'd be able to say, okay, well, let's explore that. But but you're claiming that just because you can't show water adhering to gravity, that means that water would never adhere to gravity. Well, technically, we can show that water would adhere to gravity, but that you don't think the downforce is gravity. So then we have a big problem.
Sorry, I don't believe you can bend concepts.
We are going to go into the Q&A. So I appreciate everybody. I appreciate both the speakers. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Aren't we going to do a 30-second summary?
Oh, that's right. So, right before the Q&A, you're right. Thank you. What we will do is, since we had done it where Wotan started, we'll have Wotan do a 30-second summary of his opponent's position, just to hopefully...
Well, no, you just let him finish last, so I'm going to finish last now.
No. So, Wotan, what we were going to do is we'll give you a 30 seconds. You're only summarizing, so you're not... Like, this isn't meant to make your opponent look bad, so it doesn't really help.
Of course it is.
It doesn't... No, the hope is that you depict it in the most charitable way. To show that you've understood it well. So,
I gotta be charitable to liars.
If this part is...
That's funny.
If this part is done well, if anything, it kind of like... You could say it represents your opponent's position in the most charitable way possible. So, with it being realistic. So, go ahead. We will, Wotan, if you want to just give 30 seconds, we'll do the same. I can tell you, last week when PlanarWalk did this, he gave a very charitable response to Flat Earth Aussie. So, he's not going to try to do some sort of like switcheroo on you. It's going to be a charitable... I'm not trying to trick you, Wotan, but go ahead, Wotan.
So my opponent's position is that he has absolutely not a single experiment whatsoever to prove anything that he believes. That's absolutely true. He says that he can just apply mathematics to anything and it'll be absolutely true. But oops, sorry, it doesn't work at the galactic scale. If it doesn't work at the galactic scale, how do you know it works at the planetary scale? Well, you just assume. Okay, well, you just assume based on different data points from different scientific experiments, which really have no real relation to one another. You could do that with the medical field also. The medical field does that all the time, where they try to prove, certain medicines are going to cure certain illnesses because they take, different symptoms and different medicines with different effects, and they, oh, look, well, that has that effect and this has that effect. So maybe if we give this person that medicine, maybe it'll cure them. But oops, that doesn't work either. That's a little crap. Also, they wind up dying because of that. Okay, so you can't just take different data points from different scientific experiments and prove some fake hypothesis that you think because space is being bent by matter, which has never been proven, which can never ever be proven because space is a concept. It is simply a concept. Why don't you look up your boy Kessler, and he would tell you that space is a concept. Okay, I have a paper right here that can show you that even your boy that who proved, showed that
Okay,
the
it's about
how
30
the
seconds.
theory of the planets going around the sun, he would tell you that space is a concept. Time is a concept. You cannot bend concepts. You can't bend concepts. You don't have a round Earth. That's it.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. And PlanarWalk will give you about the same amount of time, give or take.
Okay, so essentially Wotan's position is that because you can't show specific experiments that show exactly what he wants to have been seen, so water sticking to a ball by virtue of gravity, and we didn't even touch on air in a vacuum container, and because I can't exactly show space-time, because I can't show those things, they don't exist.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Before we go into the Q&A, I want to give a huge thanks. First, thanks so much for all of you who have stuck with us, even though we, for there over a while, it was a little bit hard to even hear. So we appreciate that. Also, I do want to say a huge thanks and just kind of give shout outs to people who are positive in the live chat. We totally appreciate that, especially when I'm like, believe me, if anybody's bothered by the connection being bad, it's me, where I'm like, honestly, I'm about to call Comcast, I think is call the internet provider and say like, what is going on? Like, why am I paying for this? So believe me, I appreciate when you're positive during those tough spots. Want to say King Crew, thanks for your positivity. Marcus Dresden, thanks for when you were positive. Marcus, it's true, sometimes you're a little bit tough on people, but I appreciate your positivity. Want to call that out and say thanks so much for doing that. X Forbidden Gaming, NYC Fenrir, and Tim's Witan, as well as others. Want to say thanks so much for being positive in the live chat. I definitely notice it. Want to give you a shout out. We have sometimes, I think it's a small percent, and forgive me, debaters, for taking a little extra time, but there's a couple of things that have come up during this debate. One, I think it's a small percent, like 1% probably. Sometimes people are just nasty mean in the live chat. And it's like, one example, I'm willing to call it out because it's like maybe the meanest. Michael Dresden, sometimes you are just really mean. And I know that we say we'll let anything fly except hate speech. Like, we'll never let hate speech fly. But some of you, it's like, we're asking you to meet us halfway. Be friend. We don't want you to feel like you're walking on eggshells in the live chat, but we also don't want you to like take advantage of it to where you're just freaking mean and you're just like right on the cusp of hate speech. You're just nasty mean to people, because in that case it's like, geez Louise, like a lot of people aren't going to want to be here. It's going to be a negative experience in a live chat if you're just nasty mean. And I'll own my stuff. I've got things that I can be better at in terms of like, sometimes without a doubt, my moderating could improve. Sometimes the tech could be better. I've got my things that I'll own and say, we're working on them, we'll fix them. But I'd say 1%, it's a really small percent. So like the vast majority of you out there, thanks so much for being positive, or maybe you're just neutral, you're not particularly positive or negative, but you're at least like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then some of you, maybe you're just quiet. And it's like, hey, glad to have you here as well. But the ones that are nasty mean, it's like, I'm telling you, I'm on the verge sometimes for that tiny less than 1%. I'm on the verge of sometimes saying like, I'm about to start changing the rules and say, if you're really nasty mean to where people are starting to say, I don't want to be in that live chat at Modern Day Debate, those people are just mean. I'm like, it's getting to the point where I'll start actually hiding people, deleting their stuff, banning them, whatever. So, like I said, that's less than 1%. But so I do want to focus on the 99%. and say thanks so much. And then let's see what else. Want to say, let's see. Toodly-doo. Oh, yeah. I know that a lot of you are unhappy with the fact that Nathan Thompson is a moderator. It's true. I have made him a moderator. The reason is we do want Flat Earth people to be here. And hopefully, you know, those of you who, I know that some of you, I think most of you, you don't like it because he just had some, disorderly conduct or something because he was trying to teach Flat Earth. He was yelling it at kids on the playground or something, which I obviously don't encourage. But the reason that we have him on here as a mod, as well as some other Flat Earthers, is we want recognizable Flat Earthers, even if they have a disorderly conduct. Like, I'm willing to bear that. We want Flat Earthers to be mods too, in the same way that we have Globe Earthers as mods, because we want all parties to feel equally welcome. Like, it's a radical tolerance, and like we're like really trying to live out the actual diversity thing of saying like Republican, Democrat, Flat Earther, Globe Earther, no matter who you are, want you to feel welcome, even if you've got something on your criminal record for yelling at kids on the playground. Pretty radical, I know. But if you don't like it, frankly, if you don't like it, we're radical about that kind of diversity and tolerance. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. I don't care. So that's just how we're doing it. Nathan's going to remain a mod. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. It's okay. I'm not going to be mad. You don't owe me anything. So with that, thanks so much for your questions. And let's see. We do have a lot of questions. We're going to work through these as fast as we can so we can hopefully ask everybody's. And first up, Gerhard Selig, thanks for your super chat, who said just for the song. That's nice of you, Gerhard. And just so you know, because we do get it once in a while, somebody will ask what the song is. It's World Goes Wild by Above Envy. That's in the bottom of the description. Next up, thanks for your super chat from Steven Steen. Nasty guy says, I had happy hour several times by myself. COVID-19. Very sad. Hope you feel better, Steven. Anamorphic Mind, thanks for your super chat, says, Wotan lives in the corner of cognitive and dissonance. Wotan, do you believe this? Is this true?
Cognitive dissonance, because a globe earther has never presented to me in the history of me debating on YouTube for 3-4 years. They've never presented a single scientific experiment to prove anything that they believe. I really find that really funny.
Gotcha. And next up, we've got, hold on one second about that. It's loading up. RangerMan9404, thanks for your super chat, who says, Wotan lives on the oh, no, we got that one. They said, my brain cells are committing suicide already. Oh, come on. Take it easy on PlanarWalk. Gotcha. Okay. RangerMan940, Stupid Horror Energy, thanks for your super chat, who said, gravity is so strong on the Earth that it has no edges, so water can't fall off. Wotan, what do you think of them apples?
You have an experiment to prove that, or are you just gonna talk crap out of your ass? That's really fun. This is what Globe Earther does. They just talk crap out of their ass with no experiments to prove anything that they believe whatsoever.
Wotan.
Absolutely nothing.
Steven Steen, thanks for your super chat, who says, James's beauty is so strong, no love can fall away. Bless your heart, Steven Steen. Nasty guy, but you know what? I'll take what I can get. Thanks up, Stringer News 1, thanks for your super chat, who says, looks like Wotan just forfeited. Congrats, PlanarWalk. I don't know. Maybe that was because we started late. I don't know. But next up, Stupid Horror Energy, thanks for your super chat, who says, if Wotan was a fan of Dawkins, name the software that he wrote.
Software that he wrote? I only read his book. I'm not a Dawkins historian. I just read his book.
Gotcha. Well, very sassy. Next up, thanks so much. Let's see. Leophilius the Lion-Hearted. I like that name. Thanks for your super chat. They said, Wotan doesn't understand general relativity. Wotan, is this true?
Do you?
Me? No, frankly, I don't. Or do you mean you're talking about them?
Does the guy who's asking does? Because I don't even think the astrophysicists do, because if they did, then the stars at the edge of the galaxy wouldn't be moving 10 times faster than what they're predicting with their general relativity, fake gravity, fake bending space, fake bending time, fake bending concepts model. Sorry.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Quelly Kush. Says, Wotan, how do you explain the change of seasons on a flat Earth? Please don't dodge the question.
How do you change it? How do you explain the change of seasons on the globe Earth? The change of season on the globe Earth is a slight little tilt towards the Earth. Yet on the elliptical orbit of the Earth is up to 3.5 million miles further away from the sun. Why wouldn't the Earth just be in perpetual frozen wasteland when it's on the at the apex of the elliptical orbit? Why wouldn't it just be a complete ball of ice? Just all the oceans on the Earth just turn instantly into ice. But oops, a little tilt towards the Earth, just like a few thousand miles. That's what's causing the summer on the Earth. That's just absolutely preposterous to me.
Gotcha. Thanks.
I don't have that question is also regarding some kind of a model. I don't have a model. I just don't believe anything that Google says.
Thanks so much. Mike Billers, thanks for your super chat, who asks, Wotan, have you looked at how GPS works, in particular how it works, and did you know you can make your own software antenna or receiver from scratch? The EQS use general relativity and curvature. Wotan, are you there?
Crickets.
No response from Wotan. You might have stumped him, Mike. Okay, next up. Red Cosmos Devil, thanks for your super chat. They say the Earth is absolutely, positively, undoubtedly, without a doubt, and 100% spherical. Wotan, just stop with this nonsense.
Sounds like a lot. That sounds like a person just claiming Jesus is real. It's pretty funny. Just like, oh, he's absolutely real, and because he's absolutely real, because of the fact that he's absolutely real, because he's absolutely real. Okay, that's cool. Cool story, bro.
Rangerman9404, thanks for your super chat, who says even my cat is face palming at Wotan.
Good.
Next up, Michael Dresden, thanks for your super chat. Michael, you're the one who I had mentioned. I'm only going to read part of your super chat because some of it is, again, just nasty mean. They said, Wotan's winning in all caps. And let's see. That's about all I'm going to read. Beloved, thanks for your super chat. They said, debate in a boxing ring with gloves, live feed it. And that's a great idea, beloved. That would be fun. Philip, thank you for your super chat. They said, Wotan, you clearly don't know what an argument from incredulity is. It's when someone says, quote, X is false because I don't understand it. PlanarWalk never said anything like that.
Would you like me to timestamp the video from Flat Earth was Jesus? Anybody in the chat right now could go on Modded Debate channel right now, go to around the 20-minute mark, and PlanarWalk will literally say that he doesn't believe that the moon landings can be fake because he doesn't believe they can be fake because he doesn't believe that they have the technology to fake it. That is the patent definition of appeal to incredulity. And if you say otherwise, you're a moron.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Red Cosmos Devil. Thanks for your super chat. They said, Wotan, in all caps. Aren't you Victor from the Atheist Experience show that got educated by an aerospace engineer student? Why are you still a flat earther? LOL.
Educated? First of all, that's not even a... Educated? Why don't you look at the video again to see who educated who? The other one who's just appealing to mathematics, which has no relation to reality whatsoever, just like this guy PlanarWalk does. But oops, doesn't work. Oops, sorry. Oh, even the math, the thing that they worship, the math. That's all they ever claim is math. Oops, sorry. Even the math doesn't work.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Next up. Appreciate it. Next up, thanks so much for your super chat from Appearance is Not Reality, who said, Nathan, you made an absolute idiot of yourself acting like Hovind. I've had more intelligent conversations with a 5-year-old. Well, I don't know if you're out there, Nathan, but you've got a critic. Philip, thanks for your super chat, who said, Wotan, quote, dark matter is just a label for the unexplained cause of extra gravity. Most scientists don't positively say that it is actually matter.
Okay, you could literally supplant the dark matter terminology, and I could say rainbow gay unifarts, rainbow gay unicorn farts. What's the difference? That's exactly what's causing the stars at the edge of the galaxy to go faster. What's the difference?
Gotcha.
You could just say anything at that point. It's just arbitrary.
Thanks so much. Next up, appreciate your super chat from Matthew Matthews, who said, recap, Wotan has admitted the Earth spins and moves through space, plus the galaxy has an edge, so space is real. Debate over.
What was that? Was that towards me?
Yes.
Well, what? Can you repeat that?
Matthew Matthews, perhaps a relative of Erica Matthews, says, recap, Wotan has admitted the Earth spins and moves through space, plus the galaxy has an edge, so space is real. Debate over.
I never once admitted that the Earth is spinning. I just simply played ball and acted like if it was moving, that how it would be wrong anyway. Could you timestamp when I said that the Earth is absolutely spinning, please? And before you make baseless assertions, thanks.
Gotcha. And Stupid Horror Energy and Area 85 Restorations, thanks for your super chats. We're going to get to those quickly. We got a few in the line. First, Rick's World, thanks for your super chat. Who said, Wotan, you have no experience to prove that you know what you were talking about. Is your hero Dunning or Kruger?
I have no experience to say what I'm talking about. All I'm doing is asking questions. I'm asking for experiments to prove what you believe. That's all I'm doing. I could literally be a blind, paraplegic, homeless person on the street, and my questions would still be valid. I would have an IQ of 3, and it doesn't matter because all I'm doing is asking questions. She's asking for experiments, and you can't show me them, so I don't believe you.
Gotcha. Daniel Baker, thanks for your super chat. We will get right to it shortly. Stupid Horror Energy, thanks for your other super chat, who says, it's not that gravity doesn't work. It's that gravity predicts there is more stuff that we cannot see.
That just sounds like a really fancy way of saying that we don't know what we know because we know what we don't know.
Gotcha. Area 85 Restorations, appreciate it. They said, Wotan, have you ever published a peer-reviewed scientific paper? No. Well, I have 2 under my belt, and I say you are full of it.
Cool. That's an appeal to like what is it? Education level doesn't mean anything at all. Like, so what? Okay, what does that mean? That every single person who has a peer-reviewed scientific paper, do they all agree on the exact same thing? No. Okay, so it doesn't matter at that point. You could have 2 people who have peer-reviewed studies, peer-reviewed papers, journals, publications, whatever, but they completely disagree with each other. So that's not even a truth claim. It's just, you're just appealing.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks so much for your super chat from Trolling for Truth, who said, Wotan, it's nice to hear you again. Glad you're still out there wrecking globes. You held it down for Flat Earth. PlanarWalk, why do you do this to yourself? You've got a critic out there.
Yeah, so it was fun. Like, as annoyed as I sometimes do get by people just, not being able to add 148 and 3, which is 151.
Took you a bit there to add that up.
Next up, thanks so much.
Took you a few seconds to add that up.
Let's see.
I came out with those numbers out of nowhere, so...
Common Sense Criticism, thanks for your super chat. They said, quote, demonstrate Earth on Earth. Quote from Wotan, they say.
Right. Demonstrate that the Earth is round on Earth. That's OEX. I don't see what the problem is with that.
Next up, Area 85 Restorations, appreciate your super chat. They said gravity is an acceleration. So what you were actually asking is, quote, prove that an acceleration can manipulate water, attach a rope to a water bucket, and spin it above your head. There is your experiment.
The bucket, I mean, these are like the oldest arguments in the world. Like, does anybody do any research into this topic, or do you just join the channel and you just come up with the typical day one arguments, like the day one, anti-flat earth arguments, like just the things that you first think about when you first encounter flat earth? You just think of something in your head real quick. Like, do your research, okay? First of all, that has nothing to do with the forces that are going on with the water around the earth. The earth is not contained in a bucket, okay? The only reason why the water is staying in that bucket is because there's forces acting on the opposite side of the bucket, but oops, it's closed on the opposite side of the bucket, so that's why it doesn't fly out. If you remove the bottom of the bucket, what happens? The water just flies out, doesn't it?
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Next up, thanks for your super chat from our dearest friend, Rivette, who says, for a welder, Wotan sure doesn't seem to grasp rounding errors or tolerance stacking. Think I'm going to stay far away from anything he's welded.
Rounding errors or tolerance stacking? Of what? I've never, my 10 years of welding, I've never heard of that. Gotcha. Rounding errors? What do you mean, like the bead, the shape of the bead? I don't know.
I don't know.
Specify that one, bro. Send another super chat.
I don't know what Wotan's welding is like. I can attest to his painting, though. The painting he told me to put in place of his photo is
like that painting, right?
Painting. You
I did that blindfolded with my left hand.
He's good. All right.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for your super chat, John Rapp, who says. That's a joke. He didn't do that. I made that up. Wotan, he said, we are sick of you not letting him talk. Wotan, is it true that you didn't let PlanarWalk talk?
I don't let people lie in front of me, sorry. Once you start lying, that's when I interrupt. I don't care.
Wotan, Common Sense Criticism says, all in favor of muting Wotan, press 1. So
press
that
1.
Was
please.
Translator Carminum, thanks for your super chat. They said, it's as if we're proven with one experiment that all men are mortal and with another that Socrates is a man. But Wotan won't believe that Socrates is mortal until he can literally watch Socrates die. Wotan, do you want to see Socrates dead?
What he's trying to say that I can't believe if Socrates ever lived because I would need to see him alive.
I think they're saying that, like, granting the premises that support flat Earth, being like, he's saying they're demonstrable, one ought to say that the conclusion follows that the Earth's a globe, and they're saying, but you just won't accept it despite.
But they aren't demonstrable, though. That's the
Well,
problem.
what they're doing is, if you've got two premises, right? It's simple logic. If you've got premises 1 is correct and premises 2 is correct, and there's a conclusion that follows from both of these premises, then the conclusion should follow. So premise 1 being men are mortal, right? And premise 2 being Socrates is a man, right? The conclusion that follows from that is Socrates is mortal.
Well, no, because in that instance, the premise 1 is the same thing as the conclusion.
Gotcha.
There's no difference between the first premise and the conclusion.
Next up, do have to keep moving just to get through as many as we possibly can. Let's see. We have Superdor Energy says, oops, I did it again. Oops, I did it again. I played with your heart. Got lost in the game. Oh, baby, baby. Well, thank you for that. Ranger
Got
Man.
lost in the globe. Oh, baby, baby. Oops.
That was beautiful.
Little,
I love that. Thank you.
My little meme.
Then Ranger Man 9404, thanks for your super chat, who says, quote, PlanarWalk is, quote unquote, steamrolling. That's more projection than a drive in theater. I think they're saying Wotan, you were the one that was steamrolling people.
I might have been. Sorry.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Common Sense Criticism, thanks for your super chat, who says, let's see here. Where did I go? Wotan's speech. Oh, jeez. Nasty mean. Okay.
Say it. I'm ready.
They said Wotan's speech impediment is annoying. I thought you just have a New York accent.
Yeah. Sometimes when I get
Way to
passionate.
put down the New York accent, James.
Let's see.
You got
Barnes.
the New Zealand accent versus the New York accent.
New York. All right. Thanks for your super chat, P. Barnes. They say, did Nathan keep an interruption tally for this debate? Oh, okay. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who says, excuse me, I was busy interrupting you. I think they're impersonating you, Wotan. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, probably.
Wotan, you're just...
I'd actually like to see an interruption tally for this debate. I'd actually... you can leave comments, right?
I'd probably beef fight the flat Earth.
Well, at least you're admitting to that. So
let's see. Next up, we have a super chat from our dear friend John. Let's see. Area 85 Restoration says, Wotan, as an engineer, I have a question. If gravity is, quote, lies, how am I able to design machines that work in reality, in parentheses, using gravity in my calcs or calculations and get accurate results?
Well, my position is that not the acceleration going down is not a lie. That's something that we can measure, that we know is true. What I'm saying is what the cause of that is. That's where the fake science comes in, because what they say is the cause of that is that matter alone, just matter existing in space, just alone with nothing acting upon it whatsoever, is creating a force. And that force is being created because the matter is bending space, which is a concept. You cannot bend concepts. I will say this until the day that I die. You cannot bend a concept. A concept is something simply in which it only exists inside of the human mind. It's like infinity. You can't bend infinity. You can't bend space. You can't bend time. Can you show me an experiment where you can bend infinity? I would love to see that.
Next up, thanks so much for your super chats from Sigifredo, Sarabia, and Brian. We're going to get to your super chats shortly. Thanks so much. Stefan Lysianin. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry if I didn't. Appreciate your super chat, where they said, can you host Dr. Charles William Lucas, or Bill, to defend his universal force theory? I perhaps would be willing to host that if it's something that hopefully people. I'm new to the topic, to be honest. So possibly, if you can connect me via email, it's something we could talk about. Translator Carminum, thanks for your super chat, who said, Wotan, the current conventional model may not explain everything, but it easily explains far more and with fewer assumptions than the flat Earth model.
Really? Wow. Fewer assumptions. I go outside, I look at the horizon is flat. Can you possibly tell me how you can make a simpler assumption? If I go outside, I look at the horizon and it's flat, you're going to tell me that it's round. If I go outside and the horizon is flat, the earth is flat. I'm not saying that that's absolutely true. Don't misquote me. Don't quote mind me. What I'm saying is that assumption, that belief, that assumption requires the least amount of assumptions. You cannot assume anything less. You go outside, you see the horizon is flat, you assume that the earth is flat, period. You go outside, you do not feel anything moving, you do not, therefore the earth is not moving, period. Those are two of the simplest assumptions that you can possibly make about the nature of the universe.
Gotcha.
Jack, again, simpler.
Jack Recall, thanks for your super chat. If you had a question you wanted to attach to it, just let me know in the live chat with a normal chat, and I can attach it on for you and read it. Thanks so much, JL Warren, for your super chat, who said, Wotan, what predictions does your model make?
I don't have a model.
Gotcha. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who said, PlanarWalk, was Wotan correct on any counterpoints? Oh, you might be muted. John Rapp said, PlanarWalk, was Wotan correct on any of his counterpoints?
No.
Thank you very much for that. Stupid Horror Energy.
Right.
Thanks for your super chat, who said, the software that Dawkins wrote is prominently discussed in his books. It's called the Weasel Program. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Books,
Wotan.
I only read The God Delusion, so if it was discussed in any other book, I wouldn't know about it because I only read The God Delusion. I think I read it twice.
Gotcha. Thanks very much, Wotan. Area 85 Restorations, thanks for your super chat, who said, to be clear, in my earlier super chat, I was referring to gravity as little g, which is an acceleration.
Caused by the bending of fake concepts, the bending of not fake concepts, but the bending of fake mediums known as space-time. Can you prove any of that? No. So, sorry.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. Next up, Daniel Baker. Appreciate your super chat. They said, if I'm raised in Antarctica, I assume all Earth is snow. You do similar by seeing a flat horizon. Why do you trust your perceptions when humans are fallible?
Was that towards me?
Yes.
Just the beginning part of that? What is that?
They said, if I'm raised in Antarctica, I assume all Earth is snow. You do similar by seeing a flat horizon. Why do you trust your perceptions when humans...
The horizon on Antarctica is flat also, isn't it?
Thanks for that.
No matter where you go on Earth, the horizon is flat. It doesn't matter where you go. The horizon is always flat.
Next up, Fred, who asked, Wotan, how do the seasons work on flat Earth, not the globe?
I don't have a model. I'm sorry. Listen, you guys have to understand my position. You will never, ever find this is a problem actually that I think what a lot of flat earthers have. A lot of flat earthers, they come out with these, wild theories on how the moon works and how the sun works and how the seasons work and how this works. But they really, I love them, but sometimes they don't have any real demonstrable experiments to prove what they're saying. So you will never ever find me making a claim to something which I cannot verify for myself. So all I say is I think I have the most pragmatic position in flat earth, in the entire flat earth community. All I say is you go outside, you see the horizon is flat. Therefore, I believe that the earth is flat and motionless because you do not see a curvature and you do not feel anything spinning. If you say otherwise, if you're going to tell me otherwise that it's round, if you're going to tell me otherwise that it's spinning, the burden of proof is on you. It's not on me. I don't need to prove anything whatsoever. I can sit here on my flat throne and just laugh at you in your face when you try to present me all this fake evidence and all these fake scientific experiments which prove nothing.
Gotcha. Gerhard Selig, Jack Rockall, and Marty, I hope I pronounce Martianista, thanks for your super chats. We'll get to those in just a second. Appreciate you sending them in. And in the meantime, let's see. We have a super chat from Mike Billers, who said, Wotan, how do seasons occur on flat Earth? Also, have you ever used a solar panel when it was 30 degrees off? You get not even 50% of the energy production.
The seasons has been addressed already, and I never used a solar panel, so I wouldn't know anything about that. Sorry.
Gotcha. Stupid whore energy. Take a cold shower. Thanks for your super chat. Brian Stevens, thanks for your super chat. Who says Wotan's picture is Heath's icon, giving credit. And so you must be buddies with. Is it pronounced Heath?
What?
Are you? Is it pronounced Heath? The person who you have the icon of?
Oh, it's pronounced.
I have no idea. I just
pronounced-
I just went to Google and looked up Horizon, and I just
Not
found
you,
one.
Wotan.
No,
sorry.
He's talking about me.
Sorry.
It's pronounced Heath, and I've talked with him a couple of times. I actually had him in one of my videos where he says, "Ahoy hoy, I am Heath." Hi Heath.
That's awesome.
Because yeah.
Well, that's excellent. And appreciate your super chat as well from Stitcher Fredo Sarabia in the house. He's been around here for a long time, keeping it real. We appreciate that. Says, Planner, is Earth a perfect sphere or chubbier oblate?
Well, it's slightly wider at the equator, and also like you can't ever count it as a perfect sphere because it has mountains. So I think the word for that is something like spheroid or something like that. Yeah.
Fake.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Appreciate that. Next up, watch it over there. We have a super chat from Jack Recall. Thanks for both of your super chats. Appreciate that support. Gerhard Selig, thanks for your super chat, who said, James, gotcha. Natalie's or Nathan's wrench is as holy as mine, although I hate it. Thanks for clarification. Well, thanks for your understanding, Gerhard. I know we're radicals here about the whole... I'm quite proud of that. Now forgive me for patting myself on the back. But thanks for your understanding. Martianista, thanks for your super chat, said, not knowing math is not a valid counter-argument. Wotan.
I never said I don't know math. I said the people that do know math got it wrong.
Gotcha. Appreciate it. Next up, we have a super chat that just came in. Let's see here. Appreciate your patience. John Rapp, who asks or says, disbelief debunks science? Right. Dumb for the win.
Science is observable, demonstrable, empirical. Or is there any demonstrable, observable, empirical evidence for water adhering to the exterior of a shape? No. Is there any observable, demonstrable, empirical evidence of air, gas existing in a vacuum? No. Is there any observable, demonstrable, empirical evidence of space bending? No. Is there any observable, demonstrable, empirical evidence of time bending? No. Therefore, the globe Earth model is not science.
Gotcha. And want to say thanks so much, folks. We do have more questions, so hold on tight. And let's see. We do want to ask from Amy Newman. You'll remember her from last Saturday if you guys were watching that tag team with Tom Jump and the two Catholic fellows. They said, for Wotan, do you ever plan to submit your own evidence for a flat Earth into peer-reviewed science journals?
I don't need any evidence to prove that the Earth is flat.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. We have another question from Adam Abilia. Thanks so much for your patience. He asked, Wotan, there are multiple additional evidence strongly there are multiple additional evidence factors or points that strongly point to dark matter, namely gravitational lensing, CMB, and clusters. The most brilliant minds are on it, not YouTube graduates.
Okay, cool. Can you show me how you can bend space? Can you show me how you can bend time? No, you can't. All you have is this gravitational lensing, which can be caused by who knows how many other different variables. I feel like we're in the times of Cavendish, when Cavendish had no idea about electromagnetism. He had no idea about any other possible variable that he can possibly even take into account into his experiments. So I feel like we're in that age also when it comes to dark matter. You look at gravitational lensing, who knows what we could discover in 50, 175 years into the future, which is going to explain what is causing this fake gravitational lensing. NASA could just give you bullshit anyway, man. I find it amazing how people just believe this one image that they see online. It's automatically real because NASA showed it to us. Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, NASA also showed us the fake-ass moon landings. Complete garbage. Next.
Thank you, JL Warren, for your super chat. Said yes to all of this. You refuse to accept it, Wotan.
No, there's no evidence. Sorry, there's no experiments. PlanarWalk. He's just another, he's just another drop in the bucket of all the people that I've debated on YouTube. I've debated everybody you can imagine on YouTube. Not one person has ever shown me an experiment to prove anything that they believe. Nothing. Zero. I can guarantee you. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not one piece of evidence.
Have you debated conspiracy cats?
I haven't.
So you haven't debated everybody.
Well, okay. You want to make a blanket? Gotcha. You got me. Goldberg proven. There you go. You got it.
So always fun, folks. We hope that we can. The rumor is, I didn't mention it because it was just too. I was gonna start crying. I was gonna start breaking up. This may be Wotan's retirement debate. I'm not joking. At least maybe it's not a retirement. Maybe a long kind of
hiatus.
Furlough, where Wotan was considering taking time off, as you know, of the pandemic. By the way, I'm curious in the live chat if you can answer this. Our internet connection is solid now. We have no problems. Is it really the case that sometimes, like when a lot of people are on, like they're just using the internet at the same time, is it really true that would affect my connection?
No.
Yes.
I don't think so.
So there's a certain, there's actually, this was a few years ago, I remember someone in my IT course mentioning that at certain periods of time, so when everybody got home and was watching Netflix, the internet for everyone would, or the internet speeds would drop, and that's because there's a certain amount of capacity that can be delivered to a certain area. Generally, ISPs will try and account for this kind of thing, though.
But that's if you're on the same node. That's if you're on the same node.
Yeah, like
not around the world. You know what I'm saying? Around the world, it's just not going to make a difference. But like if a lot of people in your area are online, then
yeah, like if there's a lot of people in James's area using the internet, then it will impact his internet connection, especially if they're using large amounts of data, or like sending and uploading, or uploading and downloading large amounts of data. Then that will cause problems.
And just had some super chats fly in. Stupid Horror Energy, thanks for your super chat, who says, can James explain why he is sometimes melodramatic? I definitely am. Oftentimes, I'm an optimist. That's why sometimes they say, hey, for example, bottom right of your screen, 1 week from now, Joel Patrick and Hunter Avalone will be debating the controversial Bible and homosexuality issue. That's going to be a big one. Maybe the best debate ever. I mean, it could be. It's going to be terrific. We know that. So next up, thanks for your super chat.
One that you've got on tomorrow is looking good.
Oh, I know. You guys, if you have not heard about it, tomorrow morning, if they have two tomorrow, so both in the morning, you'll see at the bottom right of your screen, veganism will be on trial in the sense that Cosmic Skeptic will be here tomorrow morning. He will be arguing that veganism is a moral obligation. I think one of the bigger questions of our time, for real. I just think this is huge. I'm really excited.
I like that topic, seeing that I'm a vegan as well.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You're the last person I would have guessed was a vegan.
Yeah.
But maybe you think that, like, the government poisons the meat or something?
Well, they obviously do. I mean,
or maybe he just thinks that animals have a right to life as well.
They do.
I have to be honest. I mean, I'll show my hand a little bit. I am moving more toward the vegan position, little by little. I do take it very seriously. I think
I could convince you.
I appreciate that. Wotan, if you want to come here and you want to debate on veganism, we would love to have you.
Sure.
We're open to it.
I have actually, I don't, I'm not really a vegan or a vegetarian even, but I do try and cut down on the amount of animal products that I do use. A lot of my meals I used to have a lot of meat in my diet, but I've cut back on that, especially when I had steak and stir fry. I've actually just removed the steak, and it still tastes good, although pork and stir fry still tastes nice, unfortunately. But I don't always have the money for pork, so I just forego it.
Appreciate your honesty. And thanks for your super chat from JL Warren. Appreciate it. They said, Wotan, please explain how I can purchase access to the ISS and go there.
You can go there? Okay, go there.
No, they're asking you how they can.
What do you mean?
They want to know how can they purchase access to the ISS and go there.
They want to know if I have the connects to go to the ISS.
They seem to think you've done it. Have you
Oh
done this?
yeah, I'm in cahoots with the Illuminati Freemasons who go into space, who fake the biggest lies on the face of the earth, and I'm the perfect guy to go to that.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Next up, appreciate your super chat as well from our dearest friend Philip, who says, Wotan, how come you're not the least bit skeptical towards your own quote unquote evidence for the flat Earth, which is just the horizon looking flat from a low altitude?
I'm going to make this analogy, hopefully for the last time. I hope everybody hears it. Okay, so I'm going to make this analogy again. If the Earth were 100 times smaller in diameter, that would mean that you go outside, you would literally see curvature absolutely everywhere. You would see buildings tilting backwards. You would see not even boats going over the horizon. You would see bicycles going over the horizon. You would see people walking beyond the horizon. The amount of curvature would just be blatantly apparent. So imagine in that world where the diameter of the Earth, the circumference of the Earth is 100 times smaller than what it is today. And you were to tell that person, you know what, the Earth isn't round, it's actually flat. What do you think they would tell you? They would look at you like you're absolutely batshit out of your mind. What do you mean? The Earth is obviously round. You could see everything. What do you mean? You could see left and right curvature. You could see buildings tilting over. You know, it's just self-evident that the Earth is round in that instance, right? Okay, so we're living in the same exact time right now where it's just absolutely self-evident that the Earth is absolutely fat. So you don't need any evidence to prove it. I mean, if I were to try to, get into a conversation about somebody and try to really try to convince them that the Earth is actually flat, then I guess, you probably would need some evidence for the flat Earth. But right now I'm just, I just love refuting the typical ball Earth arguments, and I'm just sitting. I'm like, the Earth is obviously flat because the horizon is flat, and I don't feel anything moving. So if you're gonna tell me otherwise, the burden of proof is on you, and if you do not meet the burden of proof, then you're full of shit. Sorry.
Gotcha. Appreciate
that sounds like denialism.
No, it's not denialism at all. Well, you haven't presented any evidence to prove anything, so I'm just well, what experiments do you have? You said yourself you don't have experiments. All you have is you accumulate experiments and data points from different experiments, and you accumulate them together to grant one picture. But you can't do anything at all with one experiment. You can't just show me face to face. Hey, show me air in a vacuum. Show me water on the exterior of a shape. Show me how you can bend space, how you can bend time. You can't do anything.
Gotta keep this
whatsoever.
moving.
Nothing.
Gotta keep this moving.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
If you want, let's see. I guess because technically, to be fair, I usually do. If the super chat's for someone, I usually let them have the last word.
Yeah.
Stupid horror energy. We got hers. Thanks for that. Let's see. We have from Area 85 Restorations. Thanks for your super chat. They said, Wotan, how is the perihelion precession of Mercury's orbit not an observable, demonstrable, repeatable experiment proving the theory of relativity?
I have no idea what the hell that even means. Sorry.
Okay, thanks for your honesty.
That has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. Sorry.
John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who said, PlanarWalk, did he just prove my point?
What was that point?
I'm not sure. I think maybe that the Earth is a globe. No, I don't think that's what it was. It was something maybe related, though. Next up,
Maybe John Rapp can type in the chat.
Corsi Husky, thanks for your super chat, who says, James, you discourage insulting speech, but you put venom on the end of some of your super chat readings. Maybe not do that. Maybe I shouldn't. I think for me, it's like, it's more the degrees of if my venom is that harsh, then maybe I will stop. I don't know how it's perceived by everybody else. So I will actually consider that, because sometimes I ask Wotan, I tell Wotan to put that in his pipe and smoke it. And
I love that stuff. Don't worry about it. I love that.
Sounds more like a bit of banter sort of.
No, I welcome that.
Gotcha. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want you guys to feel in the live chat like you're walking on eggshells. I'm not gonna freak out if you're like, man, I'm not. I'm just saying that sometimes it's excessive to where. And like I said, by the way, keep in mind, this is like 1%. So like 99% of you, I just want to say thanks so much for not being like super, for not being insulting or rude or anything else like that.
James,
So,
whenever I'm on this channel, you can push my buttons all you like. I don't mind at all.
okay, that sounded okay. Thank you.
Sound a little weird.
Yes. Appreciate it. Next up, Stupid Whore Energy. Appreciate your super chat. Who said, did James color the vegan green? Oh, yeah, I did. So Cosmic Skeptic, you'll see at the bottom right of your screen, is green. The reason is because I couldn't find a colored photo of Sterling, his opponent. So I was like, okay, well, both gray would look bad. It just wouldn't have looked that good. It doesn't really pop. So I was like, well, I'll make Sterling red. I'll make Cosmic Skeptic green. Thanks for noticing. Appreciate that, Sarah. And we're very excited, though. If you love Flat Earth debates, we are pumped that Team Skeptic will be back on next Saturday at 9 p.m. against Flat Earth Aussie. So that should be a fun one. Hopefully we'll see you for that one. And we do want to say thanks so much for being here. You guys are, honestly, it's always a pleasure. It's always wild. Sometimes it's it's a slobber knocker. People are, gets pretty crazy out there. Anything can happen, but that's what makes this, in a way, I think that's really a huge part of what makes this fun, but more so, it's the debaters. So thanks so much, Wotan and PlanarWalk, for being with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I just say something before we go off here?
You bet.
So I'll have an after show afterwards, which Wotan, you're more than welcome to come on, and we can continue a couple of the discussions if you'd like.
If it'll be just me and you, sure. I don't want your little buddies fight the Flat Earth and Team Skeptic and all those other liars on there.
Oh. Yeah, I can prevent other people from coming on.
Right.
And I haven't had.
They can go in the chat. I don't care, but
Yeah.
I'd rather just discuss with you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so it'll be it can go as long as we need it to, so we don't have the restriction on having to wait, or we don't have the restriction on, okay, we need to get super chats done by this time or something,
Right.
That's funny. Appreciate all of you guys being here. Want to let you know, appreciate that positive feedback from you in the live chat. And Philip,
one last word from me. One last word from me, James. I did like the when I asked to get the last word and you were like, no. I thought that was really funny. I was fucking laughing.
Appreciate that you like that, Wotan. I appreciate that.
It was like a moment of silence too. It was like really dramatic. I thought that was really funny.
I have to give credit to you, Wotan. You have so much patience, because it is true. A lot of poop gets thrown at you, Wotan, and you never.
Oh no, I take it. I throw it right back. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean you're aggressive, that's for sure. But you're not. You've never rage quit, have you? Did you ever rage quit on Non Sequitur show?
No. I'll debate anybody. Absolutely anybody. I don't care.
One thing I'm just wondering, I might have asked this before, but were you the person that you talked to? I believe that there was this conversation maybe between you and this person. You said about a CGI artist. Did they show you this tool called photo forensics?
I believe that was the website. Yes, I could verify. It's something like that. It was a website he was showing about the ELA signature. I think it was ELA. Pretty sure that was the name of it.
Yep.
Yeah, photo forensic with an F. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember that one.
Oh, you were watching?
Oh, I didn't watch it live, but a lot of these streams I don't catch live. I often watch.
But that was a while ago. That was like over a year ago.
Replay.
It had to be at least a year ago or so ago.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Last one. Soli Dio Gloria. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, James, God bless you and yours, brother. Appreciate your kindness. It means a lot, as well as the others in the live chat, Strange and Wonderful, and others, for your encouraging words. So, Philip and others, it's it's always fun, folks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. And with that, want to give you one last reminder. Both of our guests, I put their links in the description so that you can hear or see more where that came from. So thanks for being with us tonight. We hope to see you for that next debate. We got one, as I mentioned, on veganism tomorrow with Cosmic Skeptic, and then next week, Flat Earth debate with Team Skeptic and Flat Earth Aussie. So hopefully we'll see you then. Have a great